Hello, folks. How are we doing? It's Friday night, and that means it is time for Heavy Metallurgy. I am your regular co-host, Aaron, and over here to my side is my not regular co-host, Aaron. So, yeah, it's been a goofy afternoon if folks haven't been able to tell. Those keeping an eye on the Discord and such will know that we've had a sort of last-minute change up here. Jurgen was going to join Aaron and I this evening for a different topic, but Jurgen had some family stuff come up that he needs to take care of. So he's hanging out with the folks this evening. Cheers to Jurgen. Hope he's having fun with the family and that they're doing okay. He was really excited to cover the topic we had lined up, which was going to be talking about heavy metal from the 1970s. So we decided we'll just put that one on the back burner. We'll save it for another evening when he is available. And we'll do something different. And along those lines, I didn't come up with this topic, and Aaron the Metal Theologian did not come up with this topic either. This one actually comes courtesy of his son Coltrane. And he suggested, while we were sort of frantically trying to scramble to come up with a new idea, why don't we talk about album covers that make us laugh? And we both thought that was a pretty fun topic, so we're going to roll with that one this evening. But before we get into it, I have not given Aaron a chance to say anything. Aaron, I appreciate you hanging on with all the last-second changes. We did talk to some other folks about jumping in, but a lot of metallurgists are at concerts tonight, and I hope everybody's enjoying the live music scene across the country and elsewhere. So it's just going to be the two of us. How are you doing?
I'm going to a show on Sunday, actually, too, but it's JPEG Mafia, so I don't know if y'all want to hear about that. Like, it's becoming a thing that I start by talking about rap. Yeah, but anyway, I did see Pentagram a couple weeks ago. That was a lot of fun. Other than that, though, man, everything's good. This is a fun topic. And I don't know, man. I mean, I just live for this kind of shit. You know, I mean, if anyone who watched my channel knows that, you know, I spend a lot of time kind of laughing about covers, and like a really corny ass cover is a great way to get me to pull my wallet out. So, yeah, I had to put like half the shit back. And I still only made it through like the S's. I didn't even get all the way through before I ran out of time. I didn't pull Metal Magic, even though I probably should have.
Yeah, as we'll see. Yeah, we definitely can't get through everything for a topic like this in one evening. And we've both, thrown stuff together here kind of last minute. So there's going to be some obvious ones that we don't show. And there'll probably be some weird ones that we grabbed and just thought at the moment, oh, yeah, this will be funny. And maybe it will, maybe it won't. But we will see. Also, should shout out to Marty. Jim has absconded with him for the evening. Jim's been kind of making the rounds, moonlighting with different metallurgists. Him and Rick hung out in Florida a couple of weeks ago. And him and Marty are doing some fun stuff this evening up north. So hope they have a great time out and about. And Aaron and I are going to hold down the fort here just fine. Before we get into fun album covers, I do have one fun bit of, it's not really VCLT, but it is a gift. And this is a Father's Day related thing that my wife came up with for Marty and I. And Marty opened his up on Wednesday during the album club show. So those of you who have watched that, you know where this is going. But she got me the exact same thing. And I swear to God, I had nothing to do with this. She just came in a few weeks ago. She's like, hey, I'm going to order this for you and Marty. But I do want to show it to you before I actually hit the pay now button. What do you think? I'm just like, holy crap, I've never seen anything like that before. It's kind of cool. Let me hit the blow up button here. So yeah, Melissa made Marty and I custom Funko Pops.
Oh my God.
The Heavy Metallurgy team. You've got Marty Worm. And I got to say, Marty looks pretty good there. And yep, she got the cap. He's got a guitar. And then over here, we've got Professor Steele with the sunglasses and the microphone in hand. I was just like, that is a thing, and that works just fine.
That's hilarious. I had no idea, and I missed the beginning of the show on a Wednesday, so...
Okay, I wanted to show it in case, some folks just didn't get a chance to catch it. But big thank you to Melissa. I thought it was a really sweet idea that she came up with. Marty, was pretty floored too, because that's not what you're expecting when you open up a random box. But on that note, happy Father's Day to Aaron, to Marty, and to all the other dads out there who are watching the show. We've been accused more than once of being sort of a dad rock live stream. So happy Dad's Day to everybody coming up on Sunday. And apologies to folks in the chat. I'll get things up here as best I can tonight. But with only two of us, it'll probably be a little faster back and forth. So I may not get quite as many comments on screen. But a big hello to Ryan, to Tim, Mike Seatown. Great to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. To Frosty and everyone else. And I do want to give one more shout out also to David, Metal Overkill. A lot of folks will know him. He's in the chat quite a bit. David does have his own channel that he's just recently started. He's posted a couple of videos already, and I've put a link in the description to hop over to his channel. It's called HeavyMetal Overkill, which can be a little hard if you just type it into YouTube. You're going to get a lot of Overkill concert footage, but there's a direct link down below. Go over, please subscribe to his channel and check out what he's been posting. While you're doing that, also make sure you hop over to that way. Aaron's channel, the Metal Theologian, is extremely close to 3,000 subs at last count, and it would be great Father's Day present for him if we can kind of get him over that milestone so that he can lord it over all the rest of us. But if you're not already subscribed, which you should be, definitely please go subscribe to both those channels.
It does feel like I've been about 30 shy for like 6 months or something like that.
You have been right on the cusp for a bit, so maybe we can help you inch a bit closer to that milestone. Those who may not be familiar, Aaron's been doing this for a very long time. His channel is very eclectic. He will show records you will see nowhere else on the internets. So it's always a great time because you never know what he's going to pull off the shelf. Sometimes he doesn't know either. In recent episode, he's rolling dice and pulling things at random.
Those are always fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you don't know what you're going to pull, but you got to be ready for it for sure. So yeah, check those out when you get the chance. Hey, Simon, congratulations. I'm sorry you're hungover. That could be a good thing or a bad thing. So I'm not sure which way to reply there. We will see.
Hey, it was nice seeing Mike Seatown on the Vanguard podcast I think it was a few months ago at this point, but that was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Mike's always great to see on camera for sure. Hey to Ash. See, Fish Cult. I didn't catch what you were shopping for earlier, but I hope you made some good purchases before the show got started. Hello to Mike Pope, and of course to Sunday. Again, I'll get comments up as best I can, folks. But Aaron and I are going to be bouncing back and forth a bit on this topic tonight, which is album covers that make us laugh. And we went with a pretty broad interpretation of this. Some of these are going to be, we laugh because they are just really, really bad. But we left it open that, some of these we may laugh at because there's just something that's really incredibly odd, out there, weird, something that just really does amuse us. Not in a bad way necessarily at all. These aren't meant to be the worst album covers of all time or the stupidest or the ugliest. It's things that for some reason, they kind of just tickle our fancy. We look at them and you can't help but crack a smile for one reason or another. And yeah, we'll walk through them and kind of explain why we might get a chuckle out of some of these. Anything you'd like to add about the topic, Aaron, before we start digging in here? And
I'm pretty easily amused, in fairness, but yeah, I mean, God, especially with metal, you know what I mean? I think the only other genre that can hang with metal when it comes to entertainment value, just in the covers, is probably reggae. And there's just more metal that you can just go and go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was noticing too, and again, I didn't have time to go through the whole collection. I was kind of pulling a little haphazardly. It does seem like certain genres maybe lend themselves to humor more than others do.
Yeah.
So yeah, we may have a few more things pulled from certain shelves than other shelves tonight.
One thing I will stipulate is I'm really big on it being played straight. You know what I mean? If it's like jokey, like, I mean, I've talked shit about Acid Rain all sorts of times on my channel. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I've never even listened to them because I never really get past it. But the whole like Moshkinstein thing and like sort of the, oh, look what clowns we are. I kind of hate that,
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's fun. That's a good point too, because yeah, some things that some people will look at and think, "Oh yeah, that's immediately hilarious." It lands completely cold for other people. It's just like I don't get that. Yeah, I'm kind of that way with some of the pizza thrash stuff, where it's very cartoony, kind of
yeah,
like graffiti style art or skateboard style art, and it's just like, oh, that's supposed to be fun. I'm just like, I just don't fucking care.
yeah, totally.
It's
Even
not
like
a scene I'm
Anthrax.
into.
Like back in the day, I loved Anthrax, and I still kind of have that too. But it's like I look at that shit now, and I kind of cringe a little bit. Like
Yeah. And it's no reflection on the music. It's just that, yeah, that art
right.
style just doesn't tickle my funny bone whatsoever. It's kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. I probably would have thought that was cool if I was 15 and a skateboarder. And I haven't been 15 for a long time, and I've never been a skateboarder. So it's just not working on any level at all.
Actually, there were at least 2 Anthrax shirts that had skateboarders on them, and I had both of them. And I don't think I've stood on a skateboard more than a few times in my life, let alone tried to actually do anything with it.
Yep. But yeah, there's other folks, that's a big thing for, and I'm sure they get a kick out of those designs, and that's absolutely cool. Funny can be, of course, in the eye of the beholder a bit. So some of these, hopefully you'll get a laugh out of. Others, maybe not so much. One thing Aaron and I talked about backstage is we did try our best to pick some different things. Like we didn't want to pull the same albums we've just talked about maybe in recent videos.
Right.
So yeah, there may be some obvious things folks are going to expect that don't show up. One that's already popped up in the chat. Somebody's asked about Randy. I've shown that one a lot. I put it on the shirt tonight, folks, because I figured I don't really need to show the record again. That was just a little too easy, maybe. But so Randy is here in spirit. But yeah, I didn't pull the Randy record since I've pulled that one out at least a half a dozen times over the years. Tried to pick a few different unusual things that maybe haven't been part of the conversation so recently. Without further ado, let's move Aaron over to this side of the screen and let him show off his first choice to get us
starting this off here. Okay, I've got a couple preliminaries to get out of the way. All right, so first of all, we got to do this.
Absolutely, yep.
Because this is just like The Godfather. Both of these are just so fucking good, right? And I think we all know and love these covers, but how many bands can you say had 2 different entertaining covers or immensely entertaining covers for the same record, right?
For the same record, yes, yeah. And on that first one too, you can look at it and just say, oh, that's a bad cover. But when you get into the details, I like those little munchkin goblin-y looking things and stuff, and everything's so out of proportion that you can't even tell, are those supposed to be groundhogs? Are they trolls? I have no idea. That's where it gets really hilarious on that one.
Yeah, I'll keep showing it while we're still talking about it then. Yeah, there they are.
Yeah, the little things kind of dancing around there. Everything's just so completely out of proportion from one character to the next.
And then they were like, okay, we're going to have a witch burning at the stake. That'll be tough.
Yep. And that is like the most passive witch burning I've ever seen portrayed. She literally looks like she's thinking, it's like, did I turn the stove off while being burned alive? She just has that, like, oh, I need to remember to pick up dryer sheets on the way home or something.
Also, where are her legs?
Already in hell?
It's like they dug a hole or something. I had to replace the sleeves on these. These things are all old and filthy. Like, these covers deserve better sleeves than what I've got on.
Yep, that absolutely a good one to get started with.
All right, so here's another preliminary one, and this is for Coltrane, who suggested the topic, because this is one record. He kind of takes it for granted a little bit, although he laughed when I pulled it out before. But this was the one that he just thought was the funniest thing ever. And every time, like, I would be hanging out in the living room, and I'd just like pull it out a little bit, and he would start dying. It was kind of a fun game to play when he was like 10 or whatever. So this is actually a jazz record, but Yogi Jazz by Yoki Freund.
Okay.
I think it's pretty good. I don't think it's a knee slapper that he does, but yeah, in honor of the one who suggested this topic for us.
Good deal. And yes, it was a fun idea, Coltrane. We definitely appreciate you tossing out there. Gave us some direction when we needed it.
And then I've just got to tip my hat to what I still think might be the greatest record cover of all time, and that is this guy right here.
Folks, we're already saying pretty much every Aussie cover has a shot here tonight. Yep.
Yeah. UK version too. I'll call your attention to that. But yeah, you just can't beat this. I mean, even the gatefold. I mean, my God, that's just so good. You know, I should have to do one more preliminary if I can just sort of bogart for another minute.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. With only the two of us tonight, I think it's fine if we each want to show you like a couple at a time or something, rather than bouncing back and forth. Because then it's going to be really fast paced if we're not careful.
Yeah. I'm trying to whip through these, but we'll like belabor the other ones. I gotta show this one too, though. Even though this is a 70s one, this is one of the first records I got where I was like, holy fuck, what is going on that record cover? That is good old Blood Rock USA.
Okay, I don't know if I've ever seen the cover of this.
It's a really good record, actually. It's probably, it might be my favorite Blood Rock record, to say the truth. But yeah, what a weird cover, right?
That is weird.
These guys from Texas. I mean, Jesus Christ. And they put this out in like 71 or something, I have to like look for the date on here. Yeah, early 70s, though. Not really that hard a record to find, but it really, yeah.
Very nice. Yeah, that's one that, yeah, it's kind of a head scratcher, but you're smiling while you're scratching your head.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so those are my preliminaries. So everything else should mostly be kind of on the obscure side, ones that we haven't spent too much time with, and we'll go through those and be a little more methodical, I suppose. So what do you got, Alan?
All right, let's see. I'll start with a couple from the new wave of British heavy metal. No surprise there.
A deep well.
It is. Yep, there'll be a few tonight. This one has always amused me just because of kind of the backstory of it. It's the second Witchfinder General album, Friends of Hell. And the reason this one gets a laugh is that obviously the band, kind of follows up on the cover of the first album. And the cover of the Death Penalty album, has the band surrounding one penthouse playmate model doing the same kind of shtick. And they took a lot of crap for it. The album didn't go over well in terms of reviews. It got slagged pretty hard in a lot of the British rock press. And everyone made a big deal out of, the kind of, stupid concept on the cover. And so the fact that, they'd tried it, got really, kind of slammed for it. And what was their response? Is like, well, if they hate us standing around one model with her breasts hanging out, what should we do for the cover of the second album? How can we make this right? What if we have 5? What if we surround 5 of them in various states of disrobe, and we'll use that for the second cover? So it just makes me chuckle that it really was just sort of the big, you know what? Fuck you guys. We don't care. If you can't appreciate the cover, we don't care. We're just going to do it again anyway. And that, of course, they had to know that was going to go over poorly, and it did. But it's still a fantastic album. I like both the albums pretty much equally well. I think they both turned out quite good. And yeah, just the fact that they would go back. It's not just that it's a silly picture that makes me laugh. Not that it's kind of cheesy. It's the fact that they'd already done it once, sort of, being called at tut, 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 can't you do better than that? They're like, sure, we can do better than that. We can do 5 times the number of boobs better than that. So,
right on.
That one's worth a laugh for me.
It's a little surprising in a way that those records didn't do that well, because they're really fully realized for what they are, I mean, they're one of those bands where sound-wise, I think the new wave of British heavy metal tag is a little bit questionable, the same way with sort of like Venom, where what they were doing was so distinct and so sort of, so fully realized, just such a complete package that it doesn't really fit into the scene as neatly as, like Jameson Raid or a band like that, Jaguar, someone like that,
Yeah, and I would guess that's probably why they didn't get very good reviews. That
Maybe.
They seen, this was the new wave of British heavy metal, and Witchfinder General were kind of copying a sound from Black Sabbath that was the old wave.
Well, that's a good
British
point.
heavy metal. So they probably just had too dated a sound. And, again, yeah, pretty juvenile fare. But that part is weird because the juvenile stuff tends to often go over well with metal fans, but perhaps it just doesn't always go over well with metal journalists.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'll show one more here in kind of the warm-up round, just because it's another new wave of British heavy metal and right on the stack. This is a compilation album. It's called New Electric Warriors, NEW for new. Not one of the better known comps. It's not really rare or obscure, but it's not one of the big Friday rock show brute force comps either. The thing I love about it and why it makes me laugh, it's not the main picture here. I mean, it's a little weird. This guy's got a guitar slung on his back and his bike's parked in the middle of a field. But it's the fact that over here in the corner, he's already got, like, I guess it's, the rest of his band or his chopper buddies. And those guys are absolutely just, air guitaring the hell out of something. But they're out here in the middle of nowhere. So it's not like they're at a big concert. They don't have like a big stereo cranked up. But yeah, just that, he's kind of like watching them while they're really going for it. And I just always kind of wonder what's going through his mind. Is it just like, hey, cool, the gang's already here? Or is he just thinking, what a bunch of fucking tossers? I don't know. But yeah, I just love this little group over here in the corner. Yeah, still with a motorcycle helmet on, but they're absolutely jamming to something. I don't know what. They may be jamming to the comp. Well, I'm sorry, what's that?
Maybe they have headphones like inside their helmets or something like that.
Maybe.
When I was living in LA, I actually knew a guy who was in a band who he was the drummer and the singer, and he had a rig like that where he put on like a football helmet and like there was a microphone hooked up in it, but they couldn't play a set that was longer than like 10 or 15 minutes because he'd get so hot he'd pass out. I'm not even exaggerating. They were like on and off, a few like short songs were done.
Yep. I don't know, but yeah, maybe they're all, jamming to the compilation. It's actually a very good compilation with a lot of unknown bands. These were the kind of bands that maybe did one independent single or so and disappeared. I do like a fair number of the acts on here. There are very few that had much name recognition, though. I mean, like, Buffalo did a couple of singles on HeavyMetal label. Street Fighter did one 4-track EP that's kind of average. Who else is on here? Oxum did a single. Dawn Watcher did one or two singles. I mean, it's these kind of bands. The only band of any big note is Vardis has a track on here.
Yeah, when Vardis is a big band, you're digging.
Yeah, when Vardis is the one that's meant to bring folks in and shell out some quid for the album, you're not dealing with a bunch of A-listers here. But it is a pretty good lineup overall. They also pack a ridiculous 16 songs onto this one album, which people have complained that it doesn't have the best sound quality simply because they tried to compress so much music into only 12 inches of vinyl that some people feel like maybe you should have culled a couple of the weaker ones and the whole affair would have sounded a little better. But I've always thought it was a pretty good showing for those smaller bands, and just happens to have kind of a funny cover to me.
I really just came to appreciate that album within the last couple of years. I mean, I've had it for 20, 25, 30 years, something like that. And it was always kind of an also ran in my head. Like after the Vardis song, I kind of didn't give a crap. But it's a really good record. But I sort of had to sit there and just like listen to it a few times, just play it while I was doing things around the house and just listen to it every day for a week. And then I started going, yeah, these songs are actually really good, It's similar to It's Unheard Of that way too, It's not like Heavy Metal Heroes where you have the peaks and valleys and it's just like it just grabs you and doesn't let you go.
Yeah, that's a good point. And with so many tracks on it and a lot of the bands operating in the same style, it does take a while for this one to sink in and you just start to pick up on different tracks. Like, oh, okay, now on this spin I picked up two more bands and I like these two. And there might be a couple more spins before you realize like, oh, okay, yeah, this one by Tarot is actually pretty good too. Stuff like that. So yeah, I can see where, it's not one that just immediately you latch onto and feel like, oh, this is fantastic. All right, so we've kind of done our opening salvos here. Aaron, let's let you take center stage here again.
All right. Let's do this one. One thing I noticed is that there were a lot of Russian ones as I was going through. A lot of actually, there was a lot of Slavic records, but especially Russian ones. And this is really kind of a favorite by First Aid, Hellraiser. It's funny. I had a couple
Nice.
different candidates with like half guy, half skull.
Mm-hmm.
Like I pulled out the first Accuser record before I realized that my stack was just way too big.
Mm-hmm.
But this, yeah, man, I don't really know what the hell he's doing on there, but I'm in. I gotta love these, like, these like half buried like corpses or something, like the poltergeist house or something just hanging out there.
Yeah.
And he's wearing a First Aid t-shirt though too.
Oh, of course.
Which I actually just noticed too. They took the trouble to use the Latin lettering too instead of the Cyrillic, which I think there might have been another version of this where they used that, but I'm not sure. It's all Russian in the back, so.
Yeah, and usually they stick to the Cyrillic print. So yeah, that is interesting.
Skoraya Pomosh. If I'm pronouncing that right, which is a big question, but
well, I didn't want to say anything and embarrass you, but
actually, I don't think the Slavic bands have in common with the South American ones. The South American ones, for some reason, I feel the need to put the word group on there. That's what that is, Gruppa. Huh. They do that on all these, like Gruppa Galactica, and it's like with when I was digging into it's funny, South American like hard rock stuff when I was preparing for the other show, right? A lot of those will say Grupo on it, like they need to tell you that it's a band that made the record for some reason. I don't really get the necessity of that, but
that is weird.
Fantastic record though.
I agree with Fish Cult here. It looks wacky, but it also makes me want to check it out because it's that kind of like, that's a cool kind of funny. Yeah. And I don't know the Russian scene well at all. I mean, you're really well steeped in that, and I am not at all.
Dude, I have like a dozen Russian records that I hype a lot. No, it's more than that. I have kind of dug a little bit, and there's not a whole shit ton, but a lot of this stuff, it's kind of fucked up because with political things the way they are now, it's a lot harder to get things directly from Russia.
Yeah.
A few years ago, you could find records like this for maybe $20. A lot of them would be like $10 records. And you have to pay like $20 or $30 to have them shipped. But if you're doing that and you got a package, you get a bunch of stuff and it's still relatively cheap overall,
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah, exactly. If you're going to order one and pay that much shipping, just order 3 or 4 and check them out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And sometimes you'll find some gems. That's how I found First Aid.
Wow, that one looks cool for sure.
Yeah, I don't even remember what the one was that was a throw-in with, but I got that one along with something else. And the other thing, it's probably good, but this is the one that I kept coming back to. So
very nice. Yep. Do you want to do a second one, or do you want to rotate one for one here? I'm okay either way.
Well, since it's sitting here looking at me, we might as well just do this one too. We're going with the mainstream metal here, right? I mean, everyone knows Sodom, but I mean, this is almost up there with Speak of the Devil for me as far as just being weird, and I don't know what the fuck is going on, but I'm taking out my wallet,
Yep. Yeah, it's a cool cover, but the more you look at it, the more you realize that something doesn't make sense at all there.
Yeah, like what's that thing? It looks like a tree growing out of his head.
Yeah,
and that's a lot of blood for a skull.
A lot of blood, exactly. It's like, where is all this blood coming from, and how is it like kind of suspended there?
And what are his arms?
It's like some kind of fruit roll-up thing that they've cut into a shape, and you're just holding it up by the corners.
Yeah, and what are his arms connected to?
The anatomy here is baffling. Yep.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for that that handwriting on there too, like that. I mean, I don't know if you can call it a font, that kind of script. Just it looks so lo-fi. It's yeah. When I sort of rediscovered metal, like I mean, basically the early days of eBay when I was like, oh my god, all this shit is out there now. I'm just gonna grab as much as I can. This was pretty close to the top of the list of shit that I needed to have in my stash.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I've always had a soft spot for that album. I realize it has its shortcomings sonically, perhaps, but gotta love it.
Yeah, that's a Metal Blade one, and I've heard the Roadrunner one sounds a lot better because I mean they didn't use the demo or something. But for people like Harmless Rebel over on his channel said that one's almost like a completely different record, and I kind of want to check it out. But now that it's like $100, I'm like, how bad do I really want to know? I could just play this one again.
Yeah. I have both versions. I've played them side by side, and there are differences. I will readily admit I don't have the best trained ear for like picking out all little kind of nuances here and there on that type of side by side listen. There's differences to it, but it doesn't. It's not like a night and day kind of thing for me. But other people that have a better developed ear probably do pick up a lot more than I do on that kind of thing.
Well, I'm glad you told me that because I won't go spend a big pile of money now. I'll get something else instead.
I'll use like for a comparison, like the Manila Road Crystal Logic, has the two versions. You told me about that one where the Black Dragon pressing, it's at a different speed. You can literally, and that one, it's very obvious. You can tell pretty quickly that the songs are played faster.
Yeah, it's a little tinny too. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Like the difference on the two versions of Obsessed by Cruelty, they don't stand out as much to me as the differences on the two versions of Crystal Logic.
Yeah.
But again, that's good to know. Be me.
Glad I brought it up then because,
Yep. I mean, of course, if you stumble into it for a good price one day, sure.
For sure.
Cool to have them side by side. But yeah, unfortunately, it is getting harder and harder to stumble into those things cheaply.
I found a Robert Ludwig press of Led Zeppelin 2 that way, though.
Nice.
Lucked into a cheap one. It's kind of rough, but I was able to listen to it. And yeah, you can tell, actually. It's a pretty big difference in those. Not as much as on the Manila Road, but probably more than the Sodom, the way you're describing it. So.
Okay. Yeah. And again, some folks might disagree with me on the Sodom and be like, what the hell? What are you listening to? I'm not always great at noticing the differences on those things the way other people are.
Yeah. Hattori Hanzo is right, by the way, too. Getting money orders at the grocery store. I spent a lot of time in line at the post office getting money orders.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
For mailing cash overseas. That was always fun.
Yep. Yeah. I remember having to go to some kind of random, I forget if it was a grocery store or a drugstore to get like a Western Union money order for a seller. Because that was they wanted a money order rather than a check or anything. It's like, and it was the closest place to me that had them. So that's what I did. Yep. You're exactly right, Hattori. All right. Let's see what I've got on my stack next. This one, yes. Not a bad little EP, but the cover is just hilarious. It's Victims Power Hungry. I've shown this one once or twice in the past. It kind of cartoony art, kind of generic, but just the fact that, he's literally he's that hungry for power that he's eating the guitar. It's just like, dude, you've got this guitar all tricked out custom wise, and now you're just going to start, noshing on it.
I know strings on it anyway. Maybe he already ate those.
I'm guessing that was like, the appetizer, now he's getting down to like, the main course. It's just like, what a goofy way to portray power hungry. And it's not, like they were really a jokey thrash band. You look at this, my first thought might be, this is like, Joey Belladonna's like, third cousin, kid or something. But yeah, it doesn't fall in that category at all. And it's got some cool songs on it. I think it's
That's a really good record, I think, too. That's actually one that I got. The cover was almost too corny for me, but it was like $4 or $5 at Amoeba Hollywood at the time or something. And I was like, oh, fuck it, I'll give it a chance. You know what I mean? And I was surprised because it looks kind of glammy between the color palette and the hair and like that shirt that he's wearing and shit. That could totally be a heavier glam record. Not like, it's not going to be like Cinderella, but it could be like, a crew record. But that's a good
it could be like an early crew. That's just what I was thinking. Yep.
That's heavy though, that record. It's great.
Yeah, it's a good little, just kind of traditional US metal thing. The song The Bridge on it is kind of the standout for me, an Ichabod Crane rendition. But yeah, and Victims did one other release, but it just has like a plain black cover with that same spike and chain ball logo. Not the most interesting. Right. That one I always liked. Here's another one. And this one, yeah, it's a thing. The band Vault. The album's called No More Escape. Some decent heavy songs on here. It's not the best record ever recorded, but I kind of dig it. But the cover here, where you've got like, it looks like some kind of bad watercolor from the 1970s with they're, I guess, in some kind of big cave, and there's a dinosaur and like these two little cave people. And this is like,
Tarzan and Jane.
Yeah, I guess it's supposed to be like, yeah, he's trying to save her from the dinosaur, but the dinosaur looks a little placid, and their posture doesn't exactly scream, life-threatening terror stands before us. So I'm not sure. I feel like the scene isn't really as tense as it's supposed to be on first glance.
The dinosaur looks stoned.
Exactly. Yeah, the dinosaur looks like it's just kind of chilling there. The
Good
homeboy ain't
design.
bothering nobody really. And this, it's just this washed out, brownish watercolor kind of palette for the whole thing. But then it's also set in this frame. It doesn't take up the whole cover. You got the giant album title across the top. It's just a weird composition overall. But again, being
really
a paleontologist, it's got a stoned looking dinosaur that does not exist in the fossil record. This is meant to be some kind of ceratopsian. But it's kind of a fucked up Styracosaurus. But yeah, just the people. It's supposed to be like an action scene, but when you look at it more and more, it's like there's no action here. Everyone's just hanging out. So I always get a chuckle out of the vault one. With that, Aaron, let's blow you back up to full screen here and let you dig deeper in the stack.
All right, man. Let's do it. All right, this is Malone. I don't know anything about this band, literally. I pretty much got it on the strength of the cover. Because there's something about the teeth on this cover.
Yeah, what is happening
teeth
there?
Like, I kind of don't know what's going on anyway. It's like he's sort of riding a horse and sort of not. Definitely holding a spear, which is good.
Yeah.
But again, the fucking teeth, man. It's like the horse and the other guy, whatever he is.
Yeah, the teeth are kind of similar too. Like the horse should have much bigger teeth than the rider, I would hope.
Yeah, I bought records for a lot of stupid reasons before, but I don't know if I've ever bought another record because of the teeth.
Well, they do say, when you're buying a horse, you should definitely check the teeth, and this one's making it easy for you.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. Yeah, I think it was like 95-ish originally. This is a reissue from a few years ago, and I was checking out some of the, Mexican and South American metal stuff. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Oh, okay. Look, see, someone knows about Malone. That's the chat here, right?
Oh,
like just being overly blowing smoke up people's assy. That someone's going to be able to help out if.
The chat is excellent for that. So cool. Thank you, Falafel. Yeah, that's. I have never seen that one before, but I will never forget that one anytime soon.
Yeah, it's the one with a weird color palette too, isn't it? Like it's all pink shit.
It's kind of got the Violence Eternal Nightmare with that kind of weird fleshy pink going on.
It kind of does, but it looks less sinewy or muscular. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It doesn't look like the inside of a mouth per se. It's just kind of got that same color to it. But
except for the teeth.
Except when if they just open the teeth a little wider, you might have. That's what they need to do. They should have zoomed in on the mouth just a little bit more, and opened it up, and had like a tiny little kid in a tiny little bed, like falling down its throat.
Just their Mexico is really good too, by the way. I didn't pull anything of their stuff for tonight, but that's another really good band.
Let's see. Ash says it's got a Dark Crystal vibe. Oh,
it kind of does, actually.
You're not wrong, Ash, but Dark Crystal is one of those things that both my wife and I shudder anytime that comes up, because we are not into Muppets at that level.
Dude, I was fine with Muppets, and I was a kid when that came out, and I saw it in the theater, and I still thought it was boring as fuck.
Like, it is.
There's a part of me that wants to see it again, but I'm like, if 10-year-old me didn't like it, I don't think 50-year-old me is going to be. I don't know, though. Maybe it would be.
I don't know, because it's been 15 years ago now, but yeah, my wife had never seen it, and like one of her friends, had always talked it up as like this great cinematic achievement. So finally one day we checked it out, and it's like, oh, I remember it as a kid. Like I never really got into it much. It was one of those things that was like constantly on HBO in 1982.
Yeah,
but I hadn't seen it since. So I was like, oh, I'll watch it with you. And we both watched it, and at the end we looked at each other and we're just like, we're not getting those 90 minutes of our lives back, are we? No, between the two of us, that's 3 hours of human existence that we just wasted watching this thing.
Yeah. All right. So are we doing 2 or are we doing 1?
Go ahead and do a second one if you want
All right.
to. Yeah.
Because we can move from Argentina over to France and look at Malefice. And look at those devils on there. Dude, everything about this cover is awesome. The only complaint I have about this thing is they didn't use like a wider tip on the pen because it's so good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a little hard to pick out at first. Yeah, where they're at on the sides there.
Totally. And this guy is like, I don't know, he's like their mascot or something. I don't know. They have him on the front and the back. Yeah, I just noticed. I never noticed this before. What if that's supposed to be a 1? Like, this is their first record? I honestly don't know. That seems to be like the German, like the German Bane is like, for some reason, German bands will put out an album called the first album, and then they'll never make another record. I have a whole bunch of stuff in my 70s section like that. But even that one that I did, the Madhouse record, it was called First Damage. And I was kind of like, you don't have to say it's your first record. You could just like give it a name, you know? But yeah, I wonder. As far as I know, this is the only record that these guys made too. So that's a cool record. It's not the greatest thing ever. It's totally entertaining. It's 84, kind of primitive sounding, from France in 84, not Germany in 84. So not the heaviest thing ever, but nothing to get mad about either. It's a fun record, but goddamn, what a great cover.
And while we're checking that one out, we've inadvertently sent a segment of the live chat down a dark crystal rabbit hole.
Are they arguing about it in the chat?
Not necessarily arguing about it, but folks reminiscing. Some folks mentioned that, yes, it actually creeped them out a good amount as a kid. And some other folks have revisited it recently, so they're comparing notes on it.
Ash started some shit.
Sunday is, yes, apparently holding Ash accountable for part of this.
It's hilarious. All right, man, what's next?
All right, let's see. What is next? For now, I'm just going to keep working my way down the vinyl stack. I've got a 7-inch stack and a CD stack as well.
I didn't pull any 45s.
I pulled just a few. I didn't pull a huge number. Next up, early Metal Blade, Third Stage Alert.
Yeah, I never really thought about that one before. That's pretty fucking funny.
It kind of is, because there's, obviously now here, they've got the action pose down a lot better than Vault did. This person is clearly reacting to absolutely nothing that's within the field of vision because it's a plain black background. It's like, okay, you're suited up for, I guess, I'm going to guess fire. I have a feeling they wanted it to look like a radiation suit, but to me, this looks more like a firefighting outfit.
Yeah.
So you're doing a towering inferno kind of thing here. You could have at least airbrushed some flames in the background, or had like a big fire over here so it's reflecting off all the silver tinfoil and stuff. But no, it's just like, hands up, looking scared or surprised or reacting to something. But there's just nothing else to help you fill in why this person is dressed this way or has their hands thrown up in the air in kind of a dramatic pose. Don't know. Yeah, for folks that don't know, it's an early Metal Blade one. Weird label on it for an early Metal Blade, with this red label with black print. And all the copies I've ever seen have this label, so it's not like it's a weird pressing. But yeah, it's not your typical, Bleeding Axe Metal Blade label from back in the day. Oh, okay. I know I pulled this next one too. Another EP later in the 80s. We have The Street Child. Very good, obscure. This is just a reissue from Buried by Time and Dust. The original is very hard to find and very expensive. I pulled this one because it's a great representation of a theme, and it's the, no matter what the climate is, and this one to me always looks like it's, very cold. I don't know if the world is plunged into some kind of, post-apocalyptic ice age or what. And no matter how well armed the lady is, they're always incredibly scantily clad. It's just like, I'm going into battle across the frozen tundra. Better make sure my thong's not riding up.
That's right.
It's like, and it was an 80s. It's an 80s trope. You go back and watch, like, The Road Warrior and stuff. and it's all the same. It's this gritty post-apocalyptic hellscape where everyone has to fight for their life. And they're all dressed like they just came from like a Bowie concert. They're all perfectly clean, hair still all nicely, kind of feathered out.
That's right.
And they just have this weird mishmash of, like leather and fur covering about 13% of their skin so that everything else is just kind of hanging out there. It's like, who goes into battle like this? This just, it's just this weird disconnect. And of course, it went away by the time you get 20 years later. They're depicted more realistically, when they remake, what was it, Mad Max, like Thunder Road. Yeah, everyone's grimy and filthy, and all the clothing and outfits are very functional. It's just this weird thing in the 80s that, we always pictured, the Conans and everyone is looking like they were straight off like an MTV video set and just with different clothing. And that always gets a chuckle from me when you see it on those old 80s albums.
That's a great record too. That's one of my favorites. Yeah.
It's really it's one of those that really does live up to the hype around it. A lot of those expensive high dollar ones musically don't always hold up, but that one is actually really, really solid. Yep. I agree 100%.
Yeah. It's unique too. There aren't a lot of records that sound like that.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of like, kind of a heavier sound. The vocalist is a little more like baritone or something. Yeah. It's not your typical 80s, my pants are too tight trying to scream or something. Really cool band. I don't know that they ever did anything else. I think everything they did is on that Buried by Time and Dust anthology.
Yeah, I think so. They just did that 4-track EP originally, and I think the other one was like a demo that they did or something. So,
yep, that's all I'm aware of on it. Yeah. All right. Well, we are steaming along here pretty well. Aaron, I'll get you back to the center stage. Oh, yes. This is a fun one.
There's a classic.
There is so much going on that cover.
I'll try and let you take it all in. I never quite understood why the flag says Saber on it, but I'll take it.
Good question. I've wondered the same thing looking at this one.
Yeah, I mean, this just has it all. There's a fucking Pegasus right there. Mm-hmm. There's, the thong, of course.
Of course.
And a little nip slip right there, all crudely drawn.
Yep.
The guys are all swole.
Yep. This is another one that has a couple of different cover variants too, but this is definitely the most entertaining one. The other version is just plain white with the band logo drawn. It's the same logo, but I think it's drawn a little differently, maybe.
Yeah, it's a little differently. It's more. I think the letters are more extended or something.
Yeah, I'd have to look at them side by side. I want to say there's a slight difference in the pressings too, musically, but it's been a while since I dug into that one. I'd have to look up my notes on it. But yeah, and I think there's a third version too, but I think it has the same cover as this one. It's just a different pressing.
Yeah, there's this is the Axe Killer one. There's also a private press version of it that I have over there, but like it has some wear over by the opening. So I figured this one would present better. And then there's the one with the blank cover. So yeah, I think that this one is pretty much the same. I don't remember like the band shots and that because I haven't played this much because it's not all that great. I don't think, but it doesn't live up to the cover. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, I remember it being decent. I have not played it in a long time, but I remember it being at least better than average. But it's been a while.
It's been a while for me too, man. I'll leave it out and see if maybe I dig it more this time. That happens a lot.
Yep, yeah, same here. Yep, yeah, psychic. Waldo may be hanging out somewhere there.
Yeah.
Coven, I don't know if that Sacred Right got a reissue or not. They did release some. Did they release it? They released out their albums. I mean, that wasn't a one and done band.
Yeah, they had at least one more. I think it was like two more, something like that.
I wanted, two more, and they were on at least a mid-sized label. Let's take a moment.
Axe Killer on this one.
Axe Killer on that one. Let's take a moment and find out. We're in no big hurry tonight. We're all just hanging out and enjoying ourselves. Let's see what we can find. Sacred Right. Yeah, the band was from Hawaii. And let's see. Yeah, they had albums in 84, 85, and 86. So The 85 album's called The Ritual. Yeah, this is the one I've seen. It's got like, a lady
With the sword or
holding
something.
a sword. It kind of looks like she's over a cauldron or something. I can't, because she's standing like in front of a cauldron. That one was on Green World Records, according to Metal Archives, with also pressings on Megaton. And then let's see what the third one was. The third one's called Is Nothing Sacred.
What a generic title.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I've seen this one too. Again, it has kind of a light purplish background. Got kind of like a skeleton character with a mask on a stick next to it. A little bit like vaguely reminiscent of what you'd see on like the cover of Mask of the Red Death. So yeah, and then they did some albums. There's a big break, and then there's other stuff in the catalog too. So yeah, they had some other stuff there as well.
All right. So here's when I broke the rule a little bit, because I've showed this kind of recently, but what a great cover on this one, man. Fucking
Indeed.
Rusty Mark of the Metal Palace. I was kind of on the hunt for this one for a while. It's I mean, it looks so corny, and it's actually really good. Like it's like a little bit inept, but like just the right amount. You know what I mean? Where it's like they're giving it their all and they're really delivering it, and the record just comes across as great. You know what I mean? It's like a great band that you're friends with, and you're like, yeah, I really like going and hearing them.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it says amateurish, but it also says we did put some effort into this. We didn't just have somebody scrawl something at the 11th hour.
Yeah. And like the sword with two blades, I mean, maybe not the most sensible choice, and that reflects the record pretty well too,
Yeah. I think in actual battle, it's got to be totally unwieldy, but yeah, it looks cool. That's what's important.
Yeah. Great record. I really like this one a lot. Honestly, more than I expected to.
It sounded pretty good when you had it, played, with a few clips on your show after you picked that one up.
Yeah. All right, Mark Lowry. Don't know anything about the guy, incidentally. I have no idea who he is or why he thought that the record should be credited to him.
Yeah, not a clue. I'm sure there's a history there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's not a well-known record at all. All right, let's see. We'll just keep working our way through some vinylage here. Okay, these next two tie into points we've already made, but what the heck? So, your theme is like, you're an 80s metal band. Your theme's going to be horror, evil, darkness, werewolves, witches, and stuff. So, of course, you need witches on the cover of your album. We've already done Fate's Warning, but maybe a different band could get the witch theme correct on their cover. Or maybe not. Storm Witch gave it a try. And again, this is some absolute hocus pocus kind of witchcraft going on here. If anybody remembers that horrible thing from HBO back in the 80s. Just very much looks like, rejects from the set of every single MTV hard rock video made between 1983 and 1991.
Yeah.
But it's the perfect representation of, again, what you would do if you were an 80s metal band and this was your cover concept idea. Hey, guys, I've got an idea. Let's get some babes dressed as witches, put them on the cover, and it'll go nuts. And you go out, you find, 3 ladies, and you dress them up like rejects from the set of Willow. And there you go.
What do you think of that record, though? I got to be honest, I wasn't enough of a Storm Witch fan on the strength of I have the first 2, and I was kind of like, yeah, I have enough Storm Witch.
This one I think is better than the second, as I recall. Let's look at the track list. Rats in the Attic is great. Fast-paced, classic one. Eternia, you've named your song after a He-Man location. That's a problem.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Jonathan's Diary is decent. That's, again, they always had that little, kind of gothic horror thing going on. Jonathan's Diary is obviously the Dracula song. Slave to Moonlight, I do not remember. Stronger Than Heaven's an okay anthem-y one. Ravenlord is really, really good. Allies of the Dark and Dorian Gray, I don't remember. But it does have at least 2 of their stronger tracks with Rats in the Attic and Ravenlord on it. Ravenlord got covered by Hammerfall, of course, in later years.
No shit.
Yep. So yeah, I think that one, I definitely play that one more than Tales of Terror. Tales of Terror is fine, but it doesn't have like the big standout tracks for me like that one does. So Storm, which not the greatest band to ever grace, a German heavy metal stage, but I don't mind their early stuff. Those first 3 are okay. After that, you got to be real careful what you pick up with Storm Witch because they got very soft, very fast.
Really, that's good to know.
Like the Beauty and the Beast album, they were very with Beauty and the Beast. They've traded in like all the leopard prints and stripes for like the paisley colored Miami Heat kind of blazers.
Oh shit!
The songs aren't bad, but you have to go in expecting that this is going to be the softer side of Storm Witch. And then after that, they continue in that vein, but they've already used up their A-list material for that style. So, yeah, it gets pretty dicey. They actually have a live album from like 1989 or 1990 where they played in some place like Hungary, which always struck me as like, what a strange place to go record it and have a live album recorded from basically, what was it? Would have been an Eastern Bloc country, maybe.
Yeah, 1990 would have been a weird time to be over there for sure.
Yeah. So that one's always thrown me a bit. But yes, any of those covers that just have the stereotypical kind of 80s look to them, I grew up with that, so it always gets a chuckle. Another one, you mentioned, French mid-80s kind of oddness before. This cover makes me smile because I can't for the life of me ever figure out what the heck is going on with it. But it's Steel Angels. I think the second album, and the angels are made of steel. And the cover is obviously meant to be like a steel angel, but it's really odd.
It's like steampunk.
It's like they're trying to do a steampunk thing, but it really doesn't completely come together. It's like, okay, we've got wings, check. We've got a head, check. But as you work your way down the torso, it's like, okay, there's a bunch of gears, and then there's just leftover scrap metal. What happened to the rest of it? It's like they got halfway through and realized it was taking way too much time to try to bring the concept to life, and they just said, fuck it. I don't know.
Is that like a skull on the angel where the angel's chest should be too, or is that like the phenomenon where like we see faces everywhere?
And that is a fair question.
It kind of looks like a skull with its mouth open, but I'm not sure if that's just. I don't remember. There's probably a name for that, but Yeah,
you're pulling some Rorschach test kind of stuff out here.
Exactly.
I'm going to guess that is, yes, just kind of ink blot test coincidence, but it does look that way. I agree. You get down here to like, I guess what are meant to be the feet, and it's starting to look more like some kind of like rubberized Godzilla bodysuit or something. It's like this part doesn't seem to mesh at all with what was happening up here. From like this part up, it's kind of cool. But, from this part down, it's just like, what happened? But it's the goofy kind of I'm scratching my head looking at them just like, hey, those wacky French.
Yeah.
It's a pretty cool album.
It is a pretty good record.
Yeah. I do like it, but I never have quite figured out what happens to the bottom half of that Steel Angel.
I was going to say, I thought it was the only English one on Devil's Records, but that Jinx record was in English too. Stand Up for Rock and Roll Power.
Okay. I haven't heard that one.
It's really good. It was sort of like, it was like the last thing they released or something. So it wasn't at the same level as like, Stratson or someone like that. But I think that record's a little bit underrated in the catalog, even. I'd go as far as to say only a little bit. It's not the best thing they ever did. It's not going to replace, Voodoo Child or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a good record, that Jinx one.
Yep. Yeah, and you're right. Yeah, almost everything on Devil's Records, the other ones I know of are all in French. But I don't know the whole catalog as well as you. But all right, let's switch places on screen here so that Aaron can take the lead once again.
All right, this one's for Tim Saunders. Fucking Devil Child.
Yeah.
And of course, it's a great cover because, oh my God, how 80s is that hairdo?
Yes. Once again, that could only have been made sometime in a year that began with the numbers 1, 9, and 8.
I actually, that hairdo reminds me of a specific person who I thought was hot back then. I'm not going to say her name, but I remember it. Yeah, and like, presumably that's a baby that's being held there, but like the real sort of a master stroke, other than her feet, which appear to be backwards.
Yeah.
You see that?
Yeah.
But
the feet on that album cover actually make Deadpool art look articulated when it comes to the feet.
Yeah. But the zipper on the crotch there, that's the master stroke right there.
Well, ooh la la.
That's right. And like, oh, there's some other shit going on here too, but like we know we were focused on right here. This is a great record though. I love this record.
Oh, I do too. Yep.
Yeah. And you gotta love all the exclamation marks in the song titles. 3 of them out of 7 have at least one exclamation mark. One of them has 2.
Let's see. Tim appreciates the fact that you broke this one out. Donut is getting some vertigo trying to figure out the perspective there.
On the back, it says that this LP is dedicated to true headbangers who hate false metal magazines. We thank our parents and Mrs. Hopkins for use of the basement. Also, special thanks to our girlfriends for giving us good head. Also, thanks to the SM Leather Company for our stage outfits, and also Joe for the album cover. Shout out to Joe. And if you think we suck, we do. Our girlfriends have big tits. That's her little statement of intent there.
Yep. Takes a slightly different angle than the statements you would get on like early Norwegian black metal albums of like, fuck you, we come to your country and burn you, prepare to die. It's like, our girlfriend's got big knockers. What are you guys on about?
You want to snooze on the eyes in the pit over here either, by the way.
The thing that always throws me the most about this cover is the fact that, our main, protagonist there is done in the same color scheme as, all those little entities lining the back, quote unquote, wall. It's like they didn't give any extra little, flare of color to her.
Yeah.
And that always messes with me when I'm looking at this. So Donut, I kind of feel your pain here.
Right on. Yeah, on Pentagram Records too, incidentally. So
yep. There were only 5 or 6 things ever put on Pentagram, but they're all kind of cool in different ways.
Yeah, it's true. Like they're not all great, but they're all cool.
Mm-hmm.
And none of them are bad that I can think of right off.
No, I can't think of
one that was kind of weak, but I can't remember what it might have been. The Joe Hasselvander solo album was really good.
Yeah, the Phantom Lord's fine.
Yeah.
The
Phantom was totally fine, yeah.
The Dead Engine album is surprisingly good. I mean,
that's the one I was thinking of, but that's really just the name, because that record that was one where I was like, oh, this is probably gonna suck, man. But I got to check it out because on Pentagram, and I was like, oh,
same here
better than I expected. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I had the single by that band, and the single was also kind of a little better than you'd expect. It's not going to rewrite the history of heavy metal. Don't get me wrong, but
right.
It's like, well, the single wasn't that bad, and that's on Pentagram. I'll give it a chance. And I came away pleasantly surprised. I'm like, I am happy I parted with those $30 for that record.
Yeah, that's what I spent too. All right, so for my second one, what the hell, we'll go to the new wave of British heavy metal, I suppose, just barely.
Oh, there we go.
See that someone beat Pantera to the punch, if you will, by a good 10 years. Because look at that shit.
Yep.
And this is a good record. I probably like this more than the first Fist full length, which for some reason was on MCA because this one was on Neat. It's like they dropped a tier or something, even though they got a better singer in Glenn Coates.
Yeah. Well, exactly. The MCA was so. I was actually reading about this just a day or two ago. That at first, Dave Wood at Neat really just kind of meant for like those first couple of singles to be essentially like a vinyl demo to get some of these bands onto like MCA, because MCA was already sniffing around for Tigers of Pantang. Mm-hmm. And Dave was kind of like, well, here's, take White Spirit, take Fist also. And the MCA did. And they put out one album by each. And then, we're like, the way the author was talking about is like, it was kind of weird because MCA seemed very desperate to get metal bands on their roster quickly, but then had no idea what to do with them. And so then they just dropped them like a hot potato as soon as they did the first album.
Yeah.
So they ended up going back to neat and having a decent go of it.
Yeah, this thing is in there too, actually.
Oh, nice.
Not the greatest band photo, but it's kind of a cool piece, you know.
Yeah, yep.
It's not as cool as the Venom inserts. But then again, not much is, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I've always thought Fist was a great name too. And when it comes to this band, if you're going to get one thing, I think it needs to be the name, rank, and serial number 45. I just think that blows away everything else they ever did.
Yeah. That's, you know, that and, you know, Song and SS Gyro are always the two go-tos for Fist. Not a band I've ever really latched onto out of the genre, but yeah, definitely kind of a big player early on. They had an album on MCA. Most of the bands cannot even come close to claiming that.
Yeah. And hey, since you didn't latch onto him too much, if you don't have the Forever Amber single, that's a cheap one that's totally worth it, man. Like you'll spend $10 on that thing, and it's two really solid songs, man. There's nothing to be mad about on that record, too. It's not name, rank, and serial number, but it's a solid single. I really like that one.
Yeah, that's the kind of little thing I should go back and pick up. That I bypassed some of those because, like, I heard Fist on your compilation. I'm sure it was SS Gyro. I'm like, yeah, it's okay.
On the Lars comp.
Yeah, and a lot of those bands where it was the okay, I never did circle back and give them a fair chance. Or if I heard more stuff, it was like, I'll give it a quick listen, but I never gave a band like Fist enough time because they just didn't make a strong first impression.
Yeah.
Oh, but that's a good pair. Let's see what I can do here to follow that up. Well, let's see. Aaron covered Fist. I will see your fist, sir, and I will raise you a fist.
A Mayo fist.
a Mayo fist. But on the debut, it was just Fist. This is Canada's Fist. And I love this cover simply because it just says it all. Fist. There's just nothing more to it. Thunder in rock. Yes, it is a giant fist punching out of the rock. And it's called Fist. Sometimes the simple answer is the right answer. And this is absolutely what you need to have on the cover of your album if you're called Fist. You just saw it with Aaron's as well. What did they have? Theirs had, a fist punching somebody. But this one's just like, we'll make it the big centerpiece. It's all Fist all the time here. The Canadian Fist is... Are they metal?
Dude, that's why I don't have that record. I've never heard anyone say anything like unequivocally good about it. Not that I've seen it around that often, but I've seen it around half a dozen times in the last 20 years. And every time it's like, I've never heard anything good about this record. And A&M, by the way. Yeah, the steal of quality there, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that can make you hesitate too. It's not bad. It's metal adjacent enough. I'm not going to flag anybody for saying it's not metal, but I think it's metal adjacent enough to have some appeal. It has enough of kind of a little bit of a heavy, over the top sound. This is probably not a good comparison, but I'll go with it anyway. It's maybe what Bachman Turner Overdrive would have sounded like if they, were still plugging away in the 80s instead of the 70s. It's got that just kind of big, heavy, bombastic sound to it, but without being heavy metal. There's at least two songs on here I do like. Double or Nothing and the title track, Thunder in Rock, is exactly what it should be. It's just loud Neanderthal pounding, chanting, Thunder in Rock. Boom, boom, thunder and rock, boom. It's exactly what it needs to be. It's just, silly, over the top, chant along fun. There are times, however, when the Canadian Fist get a little bit, they let the keyboards come to the fore a bit too much for their own good. And you're kind of like, oh, that is not thundering. It's definitely just rock. So, but they needed to reel those in a bit. But yeah, back for folks that don't know, they did release at least one more album, maybe more, but they ended up changing the name to Myofist, Myofist. And Aaron, do you remember the story behind that weird name? Because I do not. It always confused the heck out of me.
Yeah. I mean, Fist is such a good name too, and Mayo Fist is like, I don't know, man. If you're gonna make up a word, I can hang with it. Like Slayer made up words occasionally. They did it with style, but like you don't name your band that.
Yeah, and there's a story behind it. I don't know the details. Chromie D is a fan of the album and has chatted about it before, and he walked me through it in the exacting level of detail that only Philip can. And I just don't remember all the nuances to it, but there were reasons and stuff for that change of name. But regardless, kind of a fun listen.
Yeah, he got me about the Litterer album, so I think I'll quit while I'm ahead.
All right, let's see. Next up, this one I actually just picked up here in the past month or so. I've known about it for a long time, and this is just a reissue, so we won't get too excited. It's a Euro band called Mirage with an album called The Earth Shall Crumble. Very, very dramatic title. I always thought it was a pretty cool title. But about this cover, it's like the giant guitar is flying down to attack them, but it's got a sword sticking out the front of it. And for the main, character here, who's supposed to be fleeing in terror for his life, I suppose, this is not the expression of terror. It might be the expression of dead, recently deceased, or really stoned, or extremely confused. But it is not somebody who's panicking because their entire civilization is crumbling before the might of a giant outer space guitar saber. And so this one just amuses me to no end. That is like, you've got this epic album title, and the concepts kind of cheesy and stuff, but you couldn't get them to just arch the eyebrows a bit, open the mouth a little bit, making them look at least somewhat concerned about what's happening, rather than just like, oh God, do I have to go to school again today? Is the expression this guy is wearing.
How is that record?
I kind of like it. It's a little all over the place, and it's another one that's not crushingly heavy. It's got a little bit of almost a power pop vibe to it, but it's relatively metallic.
It's a little late too, isn't it?
I'm sorry, what?
Isn't it a little late, like 88, 89, somewhere in there?
That's a good question. I want to say it's more like 85, but
okay.
I may be wrong. Let's go to the referee over here at Metal Archives and see what we've got. This is
someone else.
It's there's a lot of Mirages. Thankfully, this is the only one from Denmark. The EP is 85. They did 85. They had a bunch of demos and stuff. They did a single as well, and there's some collections. This has the tracks from the single and I think a few demo songs on it also. So nice little reissue. I've always liked it. I've had it just as digital files forever. The opening track, Out There Survivors, has this insanely catchy chorus to it. And again, it's got a little bit of just like kind of a pop punk, oi, 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 kind of you can't help but sing along to it thing going on. Fantastic song. I will probably feature a clip of this on a video over on Let's Talk Metal sometime in the near future. I just haven't got around to it yet. But some of the other songs on it are not bad either. So Many Years Ago isn't bad. The thing that is working here on this one is they have an extremely good vocalist. This guy is very confident sounding. It's not that he's got a ton of range or anything, but he actually does know how to carry the tune. He's upfront in the mix, but in a good way. A great voice. I don't remember his name. I don't think he was ever really in any other big bands, but let's take a moment and find out. Because he was a really impressive singer for a band called Mirage from the Netherlands or Denmark that only made like one EP. Vocals were performed by Torben Dean. And Torben, let's look at your bio page over here. All right, there's a picture of him in older age, so I think he's still kicking around. Mirage was his only musical output, according to the archives.
Yeah.
So a little bit of a bummer, though. I really like the guy as a singer. He brings a lot of pep and a lot of energy to the tracks. They sound more professional than they probably were, thanks to his vocal delivery. So, yep.
Maybe I should give it a chance then. That one's always come in second to whatever else I was looking at that day.
That is fair. Yeah. Again, like I said, it's one I've known about for 20 years. I got someone send it to me like in CDR trade, maybe. And it was always one of those like, I really like that, but I never liked it enough to actually go track down an original copy. But I came across that reissue that had the extra tracks and stuff. I'm like, oh, well, hell yeah, that'll work.
Yeah. I like Diabolic Might too. So.
All right. Let me get some comments back on the screen over here while Aaron shows us a couple more covers that make him laugh.
All right. So here's another one. Actually, this one I think kind of follows naturally after that Mirage record a little bit. And this is a more recent band too, but I actually really like this record, like no joke. But Ritual Servant. Dude.
Don't know the album.
I love
the cover. I'm my voice, of course, I'm hearing the voice of a tiny boy saying, "Please, sir, may I have some more, sir?"
Yeah, totally. So clearly Jesus metal, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but this is a really good record, man. I mean, I kind of got this just because I like saw it a few times and I was like, fuck, dude, I don't want to start trying to collect like all the new shit because like there's certain ways to sort of limit myself. So, you know, just to keep things under control a little bit, right? I was like, oh, but I just couldn't resist. So I don't know, it cost $20 or something like that. But dude, this is a pretty good record, man. I haven't played it in a long time, honestly. So, you know, explaining any really current things or putting this on, expecting it to just kind of suck or be really kind of ordinary. And I was like, no, you know, they had some decent songs, decent delivery. It was well put together. It's not too long. You know, it's 8 songs. Actually, I love the song title, 10 Lepers, too. That's a great song title. But yeah, man, Ritual Servant. I'm trying to think of something else to say about this one, but I haven't played it in so long. I don't remember. I don't know if there's, oh, let's see, there's an insert. Oh, it's lyrics, because of course, you know. Yeah, Ritual Servant would like to thank, firstly, our Creator and Holy Exalted God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. His blessings, mercy, and promises are forever true and eternal. And it says smaller thanks also to and other people. So they're good Trinitarians.
Psychic is blowing my mind over here with one of the guys from Mirage also was on a Randy demo. So,
oh, really?
Yes, thank you for pointing that out, Psychic. I had not drilled in deep enough to uncover that yet, and I am ashamed that I hadn't.
Yeah, and into the cover, there's definitely some really good Christian metal. I mean, there's some bad shit though too. You know, I mean, it earned the reputation that it had back in the day, and it was always a couple of years behind. I mean, that's the thing about Jesus metal and Russian metal is like everyone else, like by like 1990, like most of those sort of original styles had kind of run their course, but there were still some Jesus bands making some really good records, like Sacred Warrior and shit like that. Recon, some of those are kind of late, you know. But they're really good anyway. And it's the same thing with Russia, you know, like this one that actually I'm about to show. It's another Russian one. I think this is early 90s as well. And this is already like, this is a heavy thrash, but like leaning towards death metal a little bit. But yeah, Front, Mortal Surgery. Oh, and you know what's funny about this cover? Like aside from like it's kind of inscrutable what's going on there. Okay, we'll just like accept that.
I'm working on it, but yeah. Not
but
easy.
Especially when you look at the back. This reminds me of a Funkadelic record cover. This looks like it could be the cover of like Cosmic Slop or Let's Take It to the Stage. The color palette is probably more Cosmic Slop. But yeah.
That's what's happening right in the center where it's something brownish.
Dude, I don't know, but there's a sword there. You see that?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
There's the sword.
Yeah. I like this cover. It's crazy, but I like it.
Yeah, it's like lunacy, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
It's like an acid trip or something. This is from, I want to say it's 1990. Ugh. Yeah, I mean, there's the label on it. So, they stayed in character when they were doing their label design.
Yeah,
1992.
This one's getting multiple thumbs up from folks.
Right on. Hey, 1992, I want to bring to your attention the nines or skulls. You see that?
Yeah, nice little touch. It is cool when bands, yes, will do like that extra little thing because no one's looking at that. No one's
Right.
It's the kind of thing that nobody notices, but you still took the time to do it.
The other thing that I noticed about this too, it's not on the thing just there too, but like there's that thing on his head, and it's up there too, and it sort of looks like an olive.
Huh. Yeah.
Doesn't that look like an olive?
Yeah, kind of does. Huh.
Like there's a white power symbol too that's kind of close to that, but this is not that. This looks like an olive. Just trying to head off anyone in the chat who's going, oh, there's some sketch,
No, you've actually got a couple of people already adding it to Discogs cards, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's a really cool record. And, another one that came from Russia. So, incidentally, if you're looking for Russian shit right now and, you can't get with shit from Russia, other former Soviet republics, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, you're going to be in good shape. I've never had any troubles with Ukraine either, but there's shit going on there. The records might get blown up before they make it to you.
Oh yeah, it's a chance you take if you're ordering from that area right now for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Got a record from Armenia once. That's probably the most weird one. I almost pulled that one too, but I would have just been showing it because it was from Armenia. It was still fantastic. So.
Mm-hmm.
But it's cool because it's Asparez and it has the shit. It has the name of the band and all the information in English and then in Cyrillic and then in the Armenian alphabet too.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah, 3 languages.
Cool. Very cool. All right. Was that too?
Fish Cult just is saying that Nuclear War Now recently did a lot of Eastern Bloc reissues. Yes, that is true. And some of these records are really hard to find otherwise. I mean, there are a couple where I went and got the NWN ones myself, like the Credo one. And they did that second Magnet record, which is great. Like the first one isn't that hard to find. You might even find that in the US. But that second one was unreleased, and that one's fantastic too. So yeah. And shit like Varvar, that's good luck finding that one. That's a toughie. But it's a fantastic record. So yeah, I would strongly encourage you to go. In fact, just not too long ago, I didn't pull it, but there's a band called Dracula. And it's I don't remember the title, something about Satan, but I've been playing it kind of nonstop. And that's one I hadn't even heard of before the Nuclear War Now version of it. So, yeah, by all means, look into that shit. They did some good shit. Do that Aspid record, which is really hard to find.
Good deal. Yeah, Fish, thanks for pointing that out to everybody if they're wondering where to look for that stuff. Yeah, NWN's an easy one for folks, especially in the States, to order from.
Yeah, that Valkyria is good too. Yeah, one thing I really appreciate about Nuclear War Now is they don't do pre-orders. Like, I understand if you're a tiny label and you're trying to get pre-orders to finance getting the record pressed, but I feel like people kind of exploit that a lot of the time. With them, it's like, no, we're just going to fucking do it. And then we're going to print up as many as people want. We're not going to create this scarcity, and I respect that.
Yeah. Yasuki does or I know he used to do a lot of the die-hard pressings of things, but there were plenty of the regular version to go around if you didn't want that.
Right.
So, and that's, those kind of things work well that way. It's like, okay, if you want to, go nuts on the FOMO and have the super crazy version with all the posters and patches, you can. We'll make it available. But if you don't want that, here's just a regular version, regular price, and there's a ton of copies. You don't have to freak out and try to buy it in the first 5 minutes. That's a good way to handle that kind of thing. But yeah, when I agree with you, when the bands are doing just there's only this weird super limited version and you have to pre-order it 6 months ahead of time or you've got no chance of getting it. Fuck that.
I really don't want to back patch with my record either.
I can do without that. Yeah. And I don't want to, order. If I'm having to order it so far in advance that I want to forget I even ordered it before you release it, that's just too early. I don't need it that bad.
I don't mind that though, because then when it turns up in the mail, it's like Christmas. You're like, oh shit, I don't know what the hell this is, but it's shaped like a record. I care enough about it that I've remembered it at some point,
With my dumb luck, it turns out to be oh crap, I just bought a copy of this last week. I forgot I pre-ordered it.
Yeah, I
Because it
also
was 5
realized
months ago or something.
I pre-ordered the same record twice, and it still isn't out yet. Like maybe I'll like flog myself in a video for that for having done that. But and it's funny, like there's like an add-in record with each one too. I was like, I want this one, but here's something else in the catalog that looks cool too. And I have like a different add-in with each of these orders. I was like, yeah, that looks like it was me that placed that order.
Yep. Yeah, I can. Yeah, I have taken to like writing a list somewhere so I can go back and check. Like, I've got one. I've got a few CDs ordered from a Mexico distro. It's been like 3 weeks, and I don't remember what the hell I ordered. But if I'm shopping for something else, I can double check. I was smart enough to at least make the list. Be like, did I order this? Is this what I'm waiting on from Mexico? Don't know. Well, let's double check before I order something else. But yeah, let's see. Yeah, so Kevin, thanks for the compliment a minute ago. I learned a lot from having Aaron on the show as well, and glad folks are enjoying all the goofy covers tonight. Let's see. I want to do a triple shot this time because I've got 3 compilations. And there's not a lot to say about any of them except the covers are just funny.
Right.
The first one is from Canada, and it is called Moose Molten Metal.
That's a good comp, though.
It is a good comp, absolutely. But the fact that it actually does have a moose with giant metal antlers on the cover, it doesn't matter if the bands are any good or not. I'm owning this.
Yeah.
And there is a Moose Molten Metal Volume 2. Let's see. This is Volume 2 I pulled off the shelf. Okay, yeah. They made 2 volumes, and the covers, as I recall, they're pretty the same.
Similar.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same moose picture, which is a little confusing.
I've been keeping an eye out for Volume 2, and I didn't notice that was Volume 2 until you pointed it out. So that's how similar they look.
Yeah, I had to double check. Volume 2, as I recall, the bands on here are still decent, but they do lean a little more accessible metal, mid 80s. Not glam, but they probably would have become a glam band if, A&M had asked them to. So here's a record deal if you wore just a little more lipstick and turn the guitars down a bit more. I bet a lot of these bands would have bid on that, but a lot of bands probably would have, to be fair. But no, there's some good tracks on here. So it's not just an entertaining cover, but how can you not love? I mean, they call it Moose Molten Metal. They're playing into every bad stereotype they can.
Yeah.
And they actually give you a molten metal moose. They deliver on the promise. You got to respect that.
Actually, that's another Chromie D one, too, because that band on their Hateful Snake, which is the main reason I've been looking for that. Mm-hmm. That's a really good song by them. And they even had a video, which is kind of hard to believe. But
really? Oh, I didn't know that.
As far as I know, the only thing that they ever like put out on something that wasn't like a tape demo or something is that song on that comp. I don't think they even ever got a single out, but somehow they made a video.
Huh. That's, yeah. I didn't know. I might have to look for that myself. Let's see. Let's do comp number 2. This one, the cover, it's funny because it raises questions. This is the California's Best Metal comp.
Dude.
And it's very, it's like, yeah, it's like,
speaking of quality labels.
Yeah. People have issues with that for sure. But it's like, you're trying to pass yourself off. Hellion Records is putting together, a serious metal comp. You make the background as pink as possible, and then the dude driving the convertible on your thing.
I didn't realize I was a dude.
I'm guessing. Well, and see, that's kind of the first thing. It is. I'm 90% sure it's a dude, but the thing is, he looks like the dude you see at like every flea market or record show, who at first would just be like, hey, what's up? Seems okay, kind of friendly. And then like 3 minutes later, he's like, asking you like very weird, slightly inappropriate questions and kind of sketching you out. And it's just like, you're trying to sell, like, the hot new metal bands from California to the teens. And you've got like, I don't know, Dee Snider's father driving the car that and it's not a picture. I mean, it's not like they had to use somebody's brother as the model. It's just, you could have drawn anybody. and you decide to draw somebody that, yeah, looks like, Sammy Hagar 30 years in the future on the cover. And just like, why pink, and why this weird dude that's like, looks like he's going to start trying to sell me on Dianetics or something. I don't
Dude,
get it.
totally. Oh my God, that's so dumb. Here's what I just jump up and get. When I was living in LA, I lived in LA from about 2002 to 2004 ish, like give or take a little bit. And this new Renaissance shit was really kind of all over the place. Like I kind of wish I'd gotten, I think it's California's Best Metal, the Jesus Metal comp that has like a Neon Cross song on it. It's on nothing else. And it has Pastor Bob Beeman with like hair and shit. Yeah, but I found a copy of this too. I to this day have never opened it.
Still sealed. Nice.
Every time I've pulled this out, I've been like, oh, it has Hellion on it, and Nightmare 2, and VVSI, and Savage Grace, and a band called 69.
Yep.
And I'm like, yeah, I mean, Divine Right, they weren't terrible, but yeah. So I've never gotten around to cracking this one. One of these days it'll happen, I suppose, maybe.
I was thinking there's something goofy about one of the
60-40 against.
Yeah, the band pictures on the back of this one. Speaking of bands that would gladly have sold their soul to like Chrysalis, for a record deal.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely. I was thinking there was something goofy about one of the band pictures here, but yeah, I'm drawing a blank. One of these bands has like a weird little family tree connection to something. It might have been the band Ruby Slippers.
Yeah, another fucking winner, right?
Speaking of things not to call yourself if you want to be taken seriously as a heavy metal band. Ruby Slippers.
And like there was a really great band called Oz, right? So
yes, there was
for going in those waters and coming out okay, but yeah, that's not it.
Yeah, that is not it. In a minute or two, I will dig into the notes. There's something about that Ruby Slippers band that at least it's ringing one of those little alarm bells in the back of my head. It's like I'm supposed to remember something about that.
Dude, you know who that Ruby Slippers band looks like? You remember that band Fuzzbox? They made that record, We've Got a Fuzzbox and We're Going to Use It. There was like etched on one side and shit. That's what it looks like, the fucking Fuzzbox record.
Okay, I don't remember that one. Yep.
You're not missing a whole lot.
It doesn't sound like I am. All right, let me do one last comp here before I throw it back over to Aaron. This one I just made a video about. So like Aaron, there's a couple of things where I'm violating the rule of no recent shows here, but this one's just too damn funny not to show. It's the Metal Meltdown 3 compilation. And this is a decent compilation series showing off bands from like Washington and the Pacific Northwest, mostly Washington State, though. But on Volume 3, which is the one that had the widest distribution and the biggest print run, they've got a knight riding a snail.
Holy shit, what were they thinking, dude?
I mean, castle, pile of skulls, welcome to Hanford. And one of the video commenters pointed out, yeah, Hanford's a location like an old nuclear site. I'm not sure if they were processing uranium or testing stuff or what, but that's where Hanford. But then there's a knight riding a snail, slug, whatever, some kind of member of the molluscan family there. Why a snail? Of all the things you could draw him riding, a motorcycle, a horse, a skeletal horse,
a donkey,
a horse with really big teeth prominently placed in the artwork.
Yeah, horse like this.
Some kind of dinosaurian raptor looking thing, a big bird, snail. The one thing you would never ride to get anywhere because they move so damn slow.
Yeah, you'd never get anywhere.
You would never get anywhere. So yeah, there's again, there's a story there. There's a reason. The little narrative I've been writing in my head is that there's something about Hanford related to snails or slugs and it's going to be something real obvious to the people from Hanford. They're going to be like, hey, dipshit,
Right.
our local, double A baseball team where, the Hanford Slugs, like sluggers, and our mascot was a slug. That's why it's a slug, you dumb mook.
Might have just figured it out. Now I'm wondering.
Yeah, it's going to be something like that, where there's just some real obvious thing that the location had a sluggy mascot for a, fair enough reason, and there was just a play on that. But here we are, 40 some years later, and that's completely lost to the rest of the world because I've never been to Hanford. I don't know anything about Hanford. Somebody in the chat, if you're from Hanford, if you're watching this later after it's live streamed and this makes sense to you, please leave a comment and explain the slug, because it bothers me in a good way, in an absolutely fun way. But I gotta know why the slug.
Shout out to Hanford.
No sleep till Hanford.
That's right.
No sleep till we know the answer to the Hanford slug question. All right. Well, Aaron shows his next one. I'm going to listen, but I'm also going to try to figure out why Ruby Slippers is floating in the periphery of my brain.
Right on. I just jumped up while you were talking, so I won't take offense. That's for sure.
Oh, no. We're all good. We're all good.
Yeah, so this record isn't the greatest thing ever, but the cover's pretty fantastic.
What have we got here?
Exploding by Explorer.
Oh, I have known about this album forever, and I've never checked it out.
Yeah, you're not missing a whole ton. I found this cheap, and so I was like, something that's as cheap as I'm ever going to find it, I'm going to fucking jump on it,
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I've played this a few times. It's not a bad record. It's a pretty enjoyable record, but it's not that heavy. The songs aren't super distinctive, and it's definitely not worth spending big piles of money on, which is what people are usually asking for this thing. So the cover is probably the best part, because I don't know what's exploding, but the dude's writing a piece of it, whatever it is, and he's holding a guitar that seems really small. Like the guitar would fit inside of his torso, no problem. And I kind of love that the font too, exploding,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of those. It's just like, and the reason I've always passed on it, it's like Exploder. There's an Exploder, but there's also an Explorer, and then there's an Explorer with multiple X's in it. And trying to figure out which is which just always seemed like a little more work than I wanted to do. Yeah,
the Explorer that first had only one X and then added a second X to differentiate themselves. That's a pretty good record. It's not the greatest
I like that one
either, but that's a pretty good record. This one,
Symphonies of Steel is cool.
And then there's Exploder with Pictures of Reality. I mean, Exploder is a pretty funny name, but I don't like that record as much as I want to. It's kind of proggy and it's really ambitious. There's a part of me that listens to Exploder and goes, God, I really want to love this record, but I just kind of don't, So anyway, Explorer isn't particularly ambitious either musically. And it's 8 songs, so it doesn't overstay its welcome. It has that going for it.
Okay.
But mostly it's the cover. There's a red version of the cover too, actually. Yeah, it's funny too. His cod piece seems a little smaller than what you would expect him to need with a torso that size. So I'm not going to draw any conclusions from that, but
doesn't look like he has an armadillo in those trousers.
That's right. So that's Explorer. And for my second one of this batch, there's another one that's not fantastic. That's part of why I pulled a lot of these, is because I haven't pulled this out in a while, This is a Phantom Warrior spelled wrong.
Huh.
That is a great cover, though.
Yeah, this is cool.
Yeah, this is another one that was kind of sought after for a while. And then it was like one of those deals where someone turned up a box because it was cheap for a while. And this, it's 87. It's pretty thrashy. This isn't a bad record. It's not a great record, but it's not a bad record at all. Like, if you found this free at a reasonable price, there's no reason not to keep this guy around, even though the misspellings aren't just the F at the beginning of Phantom Warrior. It should be bad enough, but then they dropped an R in Warrior. I didn't even notice until I'd played it a few times. And I don't know, man. There's a song here called Kill, Rip, Destroy, and they deserve that. You know, this record's good enough. They've earned a song called "Kill, Rip, Destroy." You know, their Psychotic Mind. It's not a bad record at all. But God, what a fucked up looking demon with his little sword, which is really more of a dagger at that length. I would almost say he has like one shoulder that's really big, and then like one shoulder that doesn't really exist.
Everything's just. It still looks cool. Yeah, just despite the issues, it's still kind of cool.
My best story about this one, actually, this is kind of a miracle record in that, how every so often, usually, everyone knows how to ship a record properly. You get a mailer, you take the inner out of, you take the inner with the record in it out of the jacket so you don't get seam splits and shit. The dude just stuck this in a fucking bubble envelope. It was sealed. He stuck it in a bubble envelope with no reinforcement, no cardboard or anything, just like a plain fucking envelope, and mailed it out that way. And it came in the mail. I was like, oh my God, this thing is going to be bent the fuck up. Yep. But it's not. Look at that. No seam splits, no corner bends.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I thought this thing was going to be wrecked, and it's pretty much like new.
Yeah, that's like barely one step above Amazon LP shipping from what you just described.
Yeah, no, it couldn't have been worse. I mean, it could have been worse because he could have just stuck the cover on, as I've heard of Amazon doing. But yeah, at least it was a padded envelope, I suppose, but no reinforcement. And somehow it got to me from wherever it came from, and it wasn't like up the street. I don't remember where it came from, but and it was still in beautiful shape. So hey, I can't complain, man.
Sometimes it works out. Sometimes they box them up like a tank and you get it and it's still cracked into at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That one that's a cool one. I like that one. All right. All I have found on Ruby Slippers in the interim is that they actually made some demos and they have released anthologies. You can get the complete collected works of Ruby Slippers released in 2008, known as You've Tasted Glam, Now Swallow Glitter. This is the title of their anthology collection, which is currently no items available in the Discogs marketplace, so you might have to dig a little deeper. But don't fret, they have a second demo collection from 2010.
Wow.
Called The Demos. But it's also not available, and the median price for this one on Discogs is $133.
Jesus, for a tape?
For a CDR in this case. So somebody out there was willing to pay $133 to swallow some glitter Ruby Slippers material from back in the day. It's a mad, mad world. All right. Well, that's as deep as I'm going to go into the Ruby Slipper rabbit hole right now.
Sounds deep enough to me.
I think, yes, I agree. I'm backing out and moving forward. All right. Up next. This one got to get positioned better. We've held off on it long enough. Marty's not here to do it. Someone's got to. Halloween have made many a fun cover. Some bad, some funny bad. The first comment of the night was somebody requesting Pink Bubbles Go Ape. I didn't pull that one. I just pulled a kind of random different one, but it highlights everything that's fun about Halloween. This is the Future World picture disc with their pumpkin mascot as some kind of spaced out, guitar rocker. I could have picked Dr. Stein. I could have picked, almost, what is it? Rabbit Don't Come Easy. There's been a lot of goofy Halloween artwork. Yeah. And, I understand for some folks, it's not their cup of tea. That may get a little too silly. I always kind of liked the fact that Halloween were a little bit lighthearted about things. As we've joked about at other times, so many metal bands want to be so serious and come across as, so don't take our picture, we're going to kick your ass kind of, attitude, which is fine. Okay, sure, whatever. Yeah. If that's how you want to play it. Halloween were the one band who were just like, I don't care. And just making, silly, goofy faces and stuff. And, have their picture taken with 10 pumpkins laying around them. And, even in some interviews, they're just like, yeah, we just never really saw what we were supposed to be angry about. It's like, we're young. We're getting records made. We're touring around. This is awesome.
Healthcare.
Yeah. What exactly are we supposed to be angry and pissed off all the time about? It just didn't feel like us. So they didn't pose that way. So yeah, tons of good Halloween artwork. That's lots of fun. Even on the picture discs and singles, you can get some good ones.
Yeah, that shit kept me away from them for a long time.
And I'm sure it keeps a lot of folks away from them even to today. And they have a lot of bad album covers, that we've highlighted in the past too. Some, especially once you get into like the early and mid 2000s with bad CGI renderings or just other lame early Photoshop type deals. They're real stinkers for a long stretch there. Yeah. But others are fun.
But like Keeper of the Seven Keys, that first one has, both of them, but the first one, when it came out, it had a really good cover, I thought,
Yeah, it does. Yep, both of those are very nice.
But then you like pull it out and there's all this goofy shit in there. And I was like, what the fuck, man?
Yep. Yeah, one that, maybe I pulled it. Maybe there'll be another Halloween. No, I don't think I did. The quote unquote comeback album, Master of the Rings, where it's just like these 7 little rings. And I swear to God, when I first saw it, I thought they were SpaghettiOs. I thought it was just a little trail of space SpaghettiOs. And it didn't really seem odd to me because it was Halloween. Like they might just have used SpaghettiOs rings on the album cover. They're not, but they look a lot like SpaghettiOs.
See, I appreciate the goofiness now though, because I didn't like blow my Halloween wad interest back in the 80s or something. I kind of held them back for myself. I sort of rediscovered them. To a certain degree under your influence just within the last few years. And I play those Keeper of the Seven Keys records a lot.
It's great stuff. Yep. Indeed. Let me show one more quick one and then I'll toss it back over to Aaron here. This is one of those kind of like funny, I don't get it. I feel like there's a reason or a joke and it doesn't, I'm just like, ha, ha, ha. I'm laughing, but I'm not sure why I'm laughing because you're kind of like, wait, it's like, if I wait a minute, maybe the punchline will come to me. It's the August Red Moon EP, Fools Are Never Alone. Decent little EP, one of those early 80s bands that, showed some promise. Had some good songs, but then just never quite got over the hump. The thing that's always thrown me about this and why it makes me kind of nervously laugh, it's like, I don't get, okay, it's like, yes, you're, making it's, metal fist and you've got the spiked gauntlet on and you're holding like all the, metal charms that have the August Red Moon. And by the way, I would love to have one of these little things. I've never seen one like on eBay or anything, but just one of these original little trinkets for August Red Moon. That's the kind of cool little paraphernalia. It's like, that would be neat. But why is the person here wearing like the white glove?
Oh, Jesus.
Because on here, you don't see enough of the arm to realize it's just a glove. So it's like, were they trying to pass it off as like a ghostly hand? Are they trying to pass it off as some kind of monstrous hand? Frankenstein, pale, cold zombie flesh or something? But you flip it over, it's like, it's more like your mom's opera glove or maybe your mom's dishwashing glove. I'm not sure. It's like, why the glove? Pale white gloves, to my knowledge, have never been a heavy metal accessory in any particular scene or subgenre. Take the glove away, and the picture makes just perfect sense. Fist, gauntlet, chains, sure. But then you add the glove, and it's like they very clearly laid out all the accessories here on the back cover. And so I'm like, it's like, it looks silly. Well, why'd you do it? Were you trying to look silly? Were you trying to look spooky? I don't know what they were trying to do with it. And it's another one that kind of bugs me, but I smile when I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah. I might pull that out again. That's a good record.
It is a good little EP. Yep, for sure. There's for the hardcore collectors out there, there's some copies of pressing of it was done on red vinyl. It's a lot harder and more expensive to find. Mine is just the Metalworks on black vinyl.
Yeah.
But yeah, the red ones can easily set you back a couple of hundred, which again, decent EP. I don't like it enough that I want to go out and spend $200 on the super rare version of the EP.
Yeah.
If I ever came across it for a decent price, on a slow day, if I had some money to burn, maybe. But yeah, in the meantime, Aaron, why are they wearing a white glove? Help me out here.
I never noticed that before. That completely went by me, even with that picture on the back, which I recognize. Just never really thought about it.
And I'm probably making way too much out of it. There's probably this feels like one of those things where the answer is supposed to just be like 42. It's like, oh, sure, of course. Why did I obsess over this for 30 years? But yeah, and once again, if anybody out there from the August Red Moon camp sees this, and you can explain the thought process and be like, dude, in Southeast LA in fall of '82, the white glove thing was actually that's what all the cool bangers were wearing. Please enlighten me. I need help in more ways than one. Right now, Aaron's going to help me by showing a couple more covers that make him laugh.
All right, I want to go for this one. There's a Polish one, Quo Vadis. And you have skeletons marching through the street.
Nice.
And a lot of shit that's kind of hard to explain. It's a big cover for one thing, actually. It's kind of oversized, but yeah, like there's graffiti that says "Rape me, fucker."
Okay.
And then there's something else on here. Yeah, I don't know, Red Army Street it's on. And then it looks like the top, like the logo, like they had the painting and then they just sort of like pasted the logo on there. You see that?
Yeah.
Like they put a sticker on it or something.
Yep.
And then it's one of these great ones where the front is like a little bit glossy, but the back is just totally matte.
Huh.
And it looks like they were trying to do that collage thing, but there's so much going on. Like it's so busy.
Yep.
And between that and the print being kind of faded, it's just kind of hard to look at.
Yep.
But this is a cool record, and it's heavy too. I mean, this is like a thrashy record from 1990-ish, I want to say. And yeah, one of my favorite little things, they quote Black Magic in one of the songs too. So they're just playing, and then they play a riff from Black Magic, and then just keep going. Again, playing it straight. And you're like, oh yeah, I caught that. We all love Slayer, Yeah, I don't know what's up with these fucking eye stalks coming out of the sewer either. By the way, that's like the what are those Muppets called? The Alien Muppets.
Again, you're asking the wrong person when it comes to Muppets. Chat, help us out here.
Yeah, they went like yip 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 yip. Oh. Anyway, very cool record. Don't snooze on this one. I think Nuclear War Now might have done this one too. This got a reissue not too long ago.
Oh, okay.
So
I like the whole skeleton marching down the street thing, but yeah, then it gets a little belligerent with the graffiti.
Yeah, it does feel a little belligerent. I don't know though, man. It works. And what's this fucking skeleton guy like hanging out of is that a TV on the street? I don't even know. Like the longer you look over the weirder.
I thought it was a shop window at first, but yeah, no, it's a really badly proportioned shop, even for Poland. Wow. It seems like one of these covers that, yes, the longer you look at it, the more fun you're going to find.
Yeah. Like fucking world. You see that? Right by the thing.
I do now. Yeah. Again, did not catch it before.
Yeah. Remember in John Carpenter's The Thing remake where like the guy's head came off and sprouted legs and eye stalks? You got that right here too. Yeah. Lots of amusement on this cover.
Someone put a lot of work into that cover for what was probably a very, very limited release.
Yeah.
But again, you got to appreciate that.
And then, this is really in kind of a similar vein too, but let's go from there to the Netherlands with Proud Existence.
Yeah. Good record.
It's a really good record. The other one's not too long.
Mm-hmm.
But goddamn, what were they thinking, man? I mean, this cover kind of looks like it could have been an Anthrax 12-inch, doesn't it?
Yeah. Just with just a few tweaks, it could have been.
Yeah, like the body proportions. Though it's like they had 5 tries and they got the proportions kind of not quite right.
You had 5 tries. It's 3 more than Fate's Warning got.
Yeah, totally.
Had it wrong.
Yeah, the trial, and then the judge is all pissed off. There's no explanation for it, really.
Simon's asking if they were being on trial for being metal, and I'm going to say yes. I think that is.
Yeah, that's probably what they were going for, but
Yeah. Oh, and Aaron, someone was wondering if you knew who reissued that the VAR, this one.
I don't. It might have been Nuclear War Now, but it might have been some nobody label out of Poland too. Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, Psychic says the Proud is reversible if you turn it upside down.
Yeah, that's actually even cornier than I realized. Yeah, totally.
Huh. Yeah.
I never noticed that.
I didn't notice that either. Psychic's good at picking up on these kind of details that I and others do miss.
Yeah.
I'll be dogged.
My favorite song title is Deliver or Kill.
Sounds like the motto for a really sketchy pizza place.
Yeah, totally.
Your pizza in 30 minutes or we'll kill the fucking driver.
That's right, man. Then we go to side 2 and get to Thou Wilt Be Avenged.
Grandiose.
They have a song for that too. Anyway, it's a cool record.
Mm-hmm. Yep, another one that can be a little pricey, but good that one's been reissued too, has it not?
I think so. I think someone did it within the last couple of years.
Yeah, I don't think it's an old one, so not something you gotta dig really hard or pay a ton to get. So yeah, Coven agrees that the Proud one is pretty good there. All right.
Metal Kev's getting into the spirit of it.
Absolutely, he is. Yes, and thank you to everybody who is tuning in. If you're wondering why it's just me and Aaron and what's going on, we explained earlier tonight, but Jurgen couldn't join at the last minute with some family stuff. So we decided to set that topic aside for him. Yeah, he'll be great for that topic, and he was really excited for it. So we're going to save that, circle back to it another time. But it was very last second, so Aaron and I decided just to do something kind of easy and fun. And speaking of which, I guess it's my turn to show some more covers.
I thought about pulling out that Crucifixion record, by the way. Green Eyes. That would definitely be a contender.
that could, that one's always smiled. These next 2 are classics. Let's see. Tim asked for one of these early on tonight, and we finally have gotten to it. But before that, this cover is this works for a lot of different topics, and I think it fits tonight as well. It is the Aryan Rebels of the Night cover. This is from about 80 or 81, and there's just a lot of things wrong here. First off, it's a black and white cover, which bands still did these in the earliest 80s, but they felt really dated.
Yeah.
So the fact is, come on, guys, let's at least break out the color Kodak, and you can do a little better than that. Second, the picture of the little girl here and the toy she's playing with, it looks like a scene out of maybe 1961, not 1980. This literally looks like pictures of my great aunt or something who was born 1951 or something. It's like, where the heck did you get this picture? Who compositionally put this together? And then, of course, you've got the band members looking through the window at her with an album called Rebels of the Night. How is it that, peeking in at, a 6-year-old girl playing with toys that look like they just got dug out of grandma's attic for the first time in 35 years makes you Rebels of the Night?
Yeah.
And this is the part where, it's such a weird concept that, somebody was trying to, does this make you look cool? Does this make you look badass? Does this make you look metal? It makes you maybe look like perverts of the night, pedophiles of the night. I don't know, but the message is weird.
The camera and not at her.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Maybe
at least half of them are looking at the camera.
Yeah, I guess maybe does that help any though? I mean,
Yeah,
maybe a little.
I'm not so sure.
There's not much you can do to salvage this situation, I don't think. But it's just like this is another one of those cases where you just got to wonder who came up with it. And I mean, this is a 5-man act. All 5 of them at the end of the day agreed to be in this photo.
Yeah.
This is too early to have just been randomly photoshopped in without them knowing about it. And again, just weird. This is not from 1980. It just can't be. That cover has always. It's not a bad album, but
I was going to ask how it was because I haven't heard that one.
It's not bad. They actually did one single. They did a 7-inch for Alcatraz off of it. It's fairly energetic, very early 80s. It's on that kind of rock metal border.
Yeah.
It's
a
little,
hang with that stuff. Generally.
Yeah. Same here. Yeah, it's a little too early to be bona fide heavy metal, but the band's trying. For 1980, it sounds pretty good, but it looks really bad. And now here's the one that Tim asked for early. One of my favorite covers of all time. I don't show it often. German true metal band called Adrian with One Step into the Uncertain. Going for a very mysterious, epic kind of title and a very, dramatic confrontation here of stoned headbanger with a pistol trying to defend cucumber slices from a giant spider. That's funny.
Pulled that one too.
Okay, yeah. This is just, yeah. It's just, everything about this is just fabulous. Yeah. That is not how you illustrate an egg. I'm sorry, it's just not.
You're right though. It's perfect. It's also not how you illustrate legs.
Yep, it's just this guy has issues here. The spider,
his mouth of the predator.
Very, very much, yes. You're one ugly motherfucker.
When did Predator come out though? That record might predate that movie.
It would not actually would be close. I want to say this is 88. I feel like
okay, I thought it was earlier than that.
Let's double check. Now, I'm not lying. I feel like it's a little later than I want it to be. Which means 88, but let's check. Adrian from Germany. There are 2 Adrians from Germany. 87?
Yeah, it was recorded in 87, so I don't know when exactly it came out, but
all right, let's see. When did the Predator movie come out? International Movie Day.
Right around that, I think, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably close.
Mine's the Heat Metal one. So
June 12th, 1987. So close. Could it work? When did
it come out in Europe? Because it took them usually took them a couple months to like dub the movie and get it distributed out there.
Fair question. The album, we don't have an exact date. The archives just says 1987 for the album. So I don't know. It'd be close. But if it had come out a year earlier, we could actually be sitting here accusing the movie of ripping off the album cover. Now that would be funny. That would be a spectacular. But yeah, the album's not bad. It has a couple of really, really good speed numbers on it. Go on the track list here. Never Again on side 2. And what's the other one? White Death, I think, is the other one that's really, really strong. So the band photo, between the cover and the band photo, you would never think that this had some speed metal chops to it. These guys look like they're going to cover Wham songs or something.
Yeah.
They do not look like... they actually look like they'd probably hang out with this dude from the cover art. But yeah, actually a pretty solid metal album, at least for a few tracks. It's not going to dethrone any of the German, top tier stuff. But I've always enjoyed it. I picked it up 30 years ago and never got rid of it. And I do get rid of records, so it must be okay.
Yeah, that's one of those that sort of I never really wanted to pay for an original, but when the reissue came out, I was like, oh, I should check this thing out, and the cover. I mean, my God, right?
Yep.
And the first couple of times I played it, I was like, whatever. I thought it was kind of lame. But the last time I pulled it out, I was like, this is actually fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe fantastic is a little bit strong. It probably just hit me just right. But the record's good. Like, it's very good. So
yeah, no, it's not a joke album at all. Yeah, the only I don't even know why I've got it, to be honest, because I got it. It's been probably 30 years since I bought that copy, and I suspect if I drill into the brain deep enough, it probably was like on one of the old Al Spremo sale lists, and he probably had put some kind of fantastic sounding blurb about it. And between the cool album title and him hyping it, my teenage self probably forked over about $13 for it. And then I saw the cover and wondered, what did I got myself into? But yeah, I agree with you. Like the first couple of playthroughs, it didn't impress me, but I finally started to latch on to some of the songs. It's like, oh, wait, no, there's a couple of really good tracks in here. And it kind of went from there. All right. So yeah, a couple of old favorites there. Now let's see what else Aaron's got.
All right, here's another old favorite. This is a legitimately great album, but I think people are kind of expecting to see this one eventually. So here it is.
I think Goldie Wax mentioned that one a bit earlier tonight in the chat.
Battle at Helm's Deep. I actually got this at Rhino Records in LA for like a buck or two, something like that.
I got mine at Papa Jazz in Columbia.
Really?
It was in their dollar bin like 25 years ago. And I was just like, it's a Metal Blade album. I don't know if it's going to be a good one, but for $1, it's coming home.
All the 20-year-olds in the chat are like gnashing their teeth while we're sitting here smiling about it. Yeah, 2025 is a great year to already have a collection, you know. But yeah, I mean, this is just perfect. Everything about this cover is great. You know, it's like the proportions are fucked up, but they're consistently fucked up across the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like this guy is fucked up in the same way that this guy is. So it's really, it kind of comes together in a weird way, you know? I've actually never thought this cover was as shitty as I've heard other people say. The logo, they could have done better, but I'll let that slide if that's what they're looking at for a cover painting, you know?
Yeah. The thing that has always sold me on that cover is the expression on the guy's face.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Seems a little bit more legitimate than the ones where they're just like, you know, like in charge. Like, no, that fucking thing is bigger than me, whatever it is.
Yeah. He knows he's in some deep shit right now, but he's going to give it a try.
That's right.
Yeah, it's much better than like what we started earlier tonight with the cave people on Vault just kind of standing there checking out a stone dinosaur who not exactly life threatening.
We're gonna go back there in just a second, though. Sort of a classic Metal Blade layout in the back, though, huh?
Yep.
Hoboken, New Jersey. You know, my older kid went to school in New York, at a school in Long Island, and I sort of started a thing where every time I'd be like, "Hey, guess where I went this weekend?" I would say Hoboken. Like a few times, like, no, I didn't go to fucking Hoboken. Yeah, but this one was actually the first one I thought. No, the first one I thought of when we were talking about the topic was Show No Mercy, which it didn't pull because everyone's seen it. But you know, the demon guy with the legs. This was the second one that I thought of.
Yeah, you mentioned you'd have this one.
Aquila, I think.
Aquila, yep.
It looked like they were insane, like they were losing their mind when they were writing up the song titles.
Yeah.
So it gets points for that. I mean, they're looking kind of placid standing there, but Wake the Dead, goddamn, they weren't fucking around when they got to that song. There's speed metal. Yeah, this is I mean, it's a pretty inept record. Let's be honest, but it's a really enjoyable one when it comes to those sorts of things. You know what I mean? If you can dig a band that kind of sucks, but like cares about what they're doing, you'll like this record just fine, you know? And my God, that is maybe the shittiest looking witch I've ever seen on a record cover.
Yeah. Fate's Warning is looking at that and thinking, you know, we got off a little easy.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's supposed to be bubbles in the cauldron, but it looks like rocks. And the witch looks like an alien. Yeah, and I don't know what's up with this too. If you look at it, like there's this weird texture, like they did it on a canvas or something. And it's like, I don't know, man. Maybe it's like they were like, yeah, we're gonna paint this, and then, you know, they just had a pencil and a red marker when they actually tried to do it. I'm legitimately not sure if this is like supposed to be this way or if like the canvas got water damaged or something. I don't know if you can see that texture in there, but like,
Yeah.
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 And then their second record, which is also good, they had extras of these and they just pasted the new cover over it.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, you find that with the second one has this some kind of the big sticker thing on top of it. I couldn't remember what the deal was. I haven't looked at those in ages.
Yeah. Great record though. Well, not a great record. Okay, that's kind of a fib, but a really fun record. I like this band probably more than they deserve to be liked.
You probably like them about as much as they do deserve to be liked. I would guess because it's one of those.
Right.
They're not bad at the level of being like outsider art bad or anything. They're they're still just in bounds for being like a metal band, but they're like only one step away from being like in the dwarf camp of just outsider art, lone guy locked up in a trailer making the whole thing himself kind of album.
Right.
Yeah. Aquila were one of the first like really sort of underground albums I bought when I started ordering stuff through the mail. One of the other vinyl dealers back then had contacted the band and gotten like a handful of copies of each one because I'm assuming there weren't a ton made.
Right.
And so, he had, obviously had like a little blurb. It's like, last copies, rare Aquila albums. And he wasn't asking a lot for them. And so it was like, oh, okay. It kind of could sound cool. And I got that one and looked at it. I was just like, oh, what the fuck, man.
It's funny that was an early one for you because an early one for me was that Wages of Sin record. I
have
a feeling that our experiences were probably kind of similar.
It might have been.
But I like that Wages of Sin record too,
I mean, that one's passable. Folks are not impressed with the Aquila artwork.
Yeah, it is not high school, dude. I could draw better arms than that when I was in high school. And I'm not claiming I'm any kind of artist, but I mean, look at that. That's like, I don't know, man. It's like this cover is what people say the Fates Warning covers are.
It's on that level. And then the cover art for the second one, I mean, it's not like it's going to win prizes, but it's got kind of like a cool rotted head of a thing or something on it.
Oh, sure. What the hell?
If you've got it, Aaron, do you mind showing it?
Yeah.
Just for the fact that the band had access to decent looking artwork for a small underground metal album. Yeah, there we go. That's kind of cool looking for a release like this.
Although that skull kind of looks like a fourth rate Crimson Ghost.
Very much so. Yep.
Oh, maybe only second rate. I shouldn't be quite so hard on it.
It's different enough that they were certain Glenn was not going to try to sue them.
Right. But yeah, you can see like the top of the red logo from the other one on there. Where they just pasted the cover over. And this really feels like just paper, like there's extra glue on my cover here. You see that? It's perfect.
Yep. That one, at least for a long time, was a lot easier to find than the other one. I don't know if that's still the case or not.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I haven't looked in a while either, but this one seems to turn out more often.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and does not go for an awful lot. Yeah, good pair. Good pair for sure. Let's see. I got 2 vinyl ones left, and then for the last few rounds, I'll switch formats. I'm talking about this topic with some folks. They, of course, immediately said, well, you got to show something from Riot, and indeed we do. I went with Rock City because
it's original, isn't it?
I finally just recently got an original Fire Sign pressing of Rock City, which didn't necessarily need it, but I love the album. I always kind of wanted the original pressing just because
I didn't need it either.
It's my favorite band. I love the album to death. So I found it in a local store. It's just like, well, shit, yeah, why not?
Yeah, that means God wants you to have it.
There you go. Jesus has put this in my path today to make sure it goes well with me, because no one else is going to buy it. But yes, Tior the Mighty, yeah, aka Johnny. They're such a weird mascot, but I've always just, a lot of people see it and it's just like, that's stupid. I see it and I'm like, that's hilarious.
Yeah, that's godly.
Yeah, trying to make some kind of statements about, the seals. This was around the time, I guess, when people clubbing baby seal fur seals was, a big environmental type issue. And so the idea was that, yeah, look, well, now here's the seals like, evolving to come back and wreak their vengeance on mankind. Because the whole fucking city's been blown up, which is pretty impressive for one seal who's only wielding a battle axe. I mean, it's not like he's got a rocket launcher or a tank, and it's not like there's 1,000 of them. I'm like,
he's just that much of a badass.
That's a hell of a day's work for one seal with a battle axe to like have an entire city. I mean, and it's not just like burning. I mean, it's like going up, almost mushroom cloud style. So I'm just like, that's some Masters of the Universe level power going on right there with that axe.
Maybe that alien guy on the ground there is the one who actually started the fire, though.
Well, and then there is that. And it's like, yeah.
And the riot guy just punished him for it. There's
one casualty in the background there that's easy to overlook because everybody fixates on the seal. But it's like, what's up? This doesn't look, it's humanoid, but
yeah, he looks weirder than the seal.
Not human. So I don't think necessarily this is even meant to play. Is this taking place on Earth even? Is this some kind of Planet of the Apes in the future shit where not only the seals have evolved to have speech and weapons? Is this like maybe a gecko person? Maybe the geckos have also evolved and there's some kind of giant gecko seal war going on. You can have some fun trying to figure out what's happening on this rather than just looking at it and be like, oh, that's stupid. And, Eddie all the way. Fuck Eddie. Everybody knows Eddie. Eddie's great. Right. But I mean, this right here tells a story. You get to tell the story. Eddie pictures tell the story for you. This is your story. You get to decide.
Yeah. Maybe that's supposed to be a really badly drawn Statue of Liberty that he just slew in the background. Oh, shit. I'm sorry. I just gave away the end of Planet of the Apes. Sorry, guys.
You bastard. You ruined it. You ruined it all to hell, Aaron. Okay, last 12-inch vinyl I'll show for the night before we switch formats. I had pulled this out for our 70s discussion, and then I started to put it away. So it's like, no,
that's still a good one.
You're staying right here. We're going to fly to the rainbow with the Scorpions' second album. The best comment I've ever seen about this piece of art is some random reviewer. I don't know if it's on Metal Archives or elsewhere, but someone pointed out, it's like, regarding the album cover, it's like, hey, why not rip off Elton John's Rocket Man? He wasn't using it in 1974.
Yeah.
Just very kind of weird, trippy 70s cover with the propellers on the feet and stuff. The thing that really does put it over the rainbow, though, so to speak, is the back cover. It's the same piece of art, but yeah, you actually get to see the guy's ass. They've printed on the guy's butt. And yeah, he's still flying off over the rainbow. Yeah, this is, this is the first Scorpions album with Uli John Roth, the very different lineup from Lonesome Crow. Band is still finding their feet, but it's actually a pretty well put together album.
I love that record. I think it's great.
It's pretty strong. I avoided it for a long time, not just because of the cover, because I didn't click with Lonesome Crow. And I was afraid, like, they probably needed longer to get from Lonesome Crow to In Trance, so maybe I don't need this. But they actually found their voice pretty quick. Speedy's Coming is the one metal track. It's the fast one that shows the metal chops. But even a lot of the other ones, They Need a Million is kind of cool. It's got the weird Latin kind of rhythm to it. Drifting Sun is the Uli song for the album, but it's actually a really good one. Not a fan of Uli singing with Scorpions, but that song is just really well put together. So yeah, fun early Scorpions with some kind of Rocket Man ripoff adorning the cover there.
Yeah. No, other than Speedy's Coming, my favorite songs on that one are This Is My Song and Fly People Fly, which are probably the most like sort of ballady ones. Neither one, I wouldn't call either one a ballad, but neither of those is like the heaviest,
They are the more laid back tracks on it. Yeah.
It's a great record. It took me a few listens to really get my head around it, but I've really come to like that record.
Yeah. Something I realized revisiting it, because this was when I revisited this week while we were prepping for the 70s topic that we have to postpone, is this album has more in common with In Trance than you'd think at first glance.
Mm-hmm.
Because In Trance does have a lot of songs that are a bit more laid back. It's got some good rockers on it. But In Trance has a relatively mellow vibe to a lot of songs, and that's a continuation of what they were doing here. So it's like they kind of take this album, work in 3 to 4 rockers instead of just Speedy's Coming, and yeah, you've got In Trance. So there's a really natural progression from one to the other that I had never quite picked up on because I hadn't played them that close together in the past.
Yeah, I like that one more than Virgin Killer.
I'd have to look at the track list for Virgin Killer. Virgin Killer's, there's some tracks I like on that one, but it's a step down from In Trance for me. So I don't know where it would rank compared to this one. I'd have to line them up side by side to see.
And then Taken by Force was another step back up. But like Catch Your Train is a great song off Virgin Killer.
Yeah, no, Virgin Killer's got some good songs on it, but I always do feel like Virgin Killer's just not as good as the other ones from that era for some reason. It's the I know you're not into Thin Lizzy, but it's the It's the Thin Lizzy album where they didn't even bother putting who was it, Brian Ross's picture. There's only like 3 of them on the cover.
Oh, Bad Reputation?
Bad Reputation, thank you, yes. Yeah, Virgin Killer always kind of feels like the Bad Reputation of the Scorpions 70s catalog for me personally. Not that it's bad, it's just weaker than the ones around it.
It doesn't have that fucking saxophone on it, at least.
Fair enough. All right. So, Aaron, it is your turn again, sir.
All right, so you've shown all the 12-inch ones you're going to show?
Yeah, I'll switch to either 7 inches or maybe some CDs, but you show whatever you want, of course.
I just kind of can't believe that I'm beating you to this one.
There you go. I think it might be Goldie Rex might have called this one out earlier too. So yeah, Goldie's been on point for a bunch of these tonight.
I mean, yeah, love this logo too.
Mm-hmm.
That super primitive one too.
Yes, the Jagdpanzer battle zones, and once again, it's we're going into pure post-apocalyptic urban warfare with a chainsaw. We are not fucking around. We just forgot to put any clothes on other than a jacket and some boots and a thong.
And an eye patch.
Well, I'm guessing the eye patch is functional more than an accessory. Probably didn't have a choice on that one.
Yeah. I have a soft spot for any record where the band is dead.
I do like that touch on that one. It's not like they're the bad. It's not a Manowar thing where we're the kings of metal. We're the ones with the girls wrapped around our legs, Ken Kelly style or something. It's like, no, she just kicked her asses, man. We're fucking toast. That's it, man. Game over.
Yeah. 1983, man. Classic record.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not Ample Destruction, but
it's showing the way. It's gearing up for Ample Destruction.
Yeah. Have we talked about the name, by the way? The Jagdpanzer versus, you say Jagdpanzer, right?
I've always figured it had to be Jagdpanzer because of because Panzer is German.
Yeah.
And Jagdpanzer is a German phrase, whereas Jagdpanzer would be like a show that used to be on NBC about the Navy lawyers hunting tank.
The reason I always said Jagdpanzer, because I didn't know either, was when I was living in LA, actually. I was when I got the Black Death press kit. D.T. Richards was actually selling it. Something I've told you the story before. And so I went over to his place and hung out with him for a little while. And he had an amazing collection of memorabilia and shit. Like he had a little like those dioramas, like stand-up dioramas, like the paper one. He had one of those for the first Foreigner record and all sorts of shit like that.
Cool.
What struck me about his taste was he seemed to just sort of like everything equally. He didn't seem to really get excited about one band over another. Like he'd get excited about Foreigner, it seemed to be he'd get excited about Jagdpanzer, which is about equal. But
okay.
But anyway, with the name of the record, with the name of the band, he said that they were hanging out one day and they saw there was a lowrider, and he had a vanity plate that said that, and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna call our band that."
Mm-hmm. Huh.
So yeah, that's
Yep. I have
There's
a feeling.
story said that didn't quite add up, but like, yeah, the story about them like stealing their name off a lowrider's license plate, I was like, yeah, you know something.
Yeah, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if the band pronounces it Jag Panzer. Yeah, I think it's one of those, Sirathungal, Kirathungal things where technically going by,
Right.
these rules of grammar of the European languages, it should be Jagdpanzer, but I have a feeling the band says we are called Jagdpanzer, just like Kirathungal calls themselves Sirathungal because they thought it would just be easier to pronounce for an audience.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. It's your band. You can pronounce it the way you want.
No, and I've caught myself. I mean, I'm totally inconsistent when it comes to that kind of shit anyway, too. Because like I say Sirathungal, but I say Celtic Frost.
Mm.
You know?
Yep.
So
Yeah, the whole Celtic thing messes with everybody. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, and what the hell? Was that my first one or my second one? That was my first.
I believe
one.
that was your first one.
Yeah. So what the hell, man? We'll show another one that I might have expected you to pull out.
I do not have it, or I might have. Yep.
This is one of the all-time like inscrutable record covers, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what the hell's going on here, but it's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have never been able to figure out what's happening with this. Once again, there's a story there, and I cannot decipher it. Let's see. Goldie, yeah, exactly. Yeah, with Jagd and Panzer.
Yeah, Jagen was the thing. So yeah,
it makes sense as a German pronunciation, but I have a feeling they're from Colorado. It's 1984. They're probably not splicing it together that way.
Yeah, they're probably pronouncing it however it sounds best on Coke.
Yep. Or just, again, to an American audience, you're going to look at that and you're going to say Jag, like Jaguar.
Yeah. Anyway,
the Gotham City is cool.
That's a classic record too, and that band photo always makes me laugh too. The dude with the discharge shirt is my favorite. I don't know if that's actually Ola Olsson, but I want to believe it is. Yeah. Classic.
Yep. That's another good example. One of those things that, yes, 25, 30 years ago, you could have got that for $10, and now people want like 300 for it. It's nuts.
I got that one when you could still get it for like a reasonable price, but I snoozed for too long on the unknown. I sort of had to like, I kept waiting for it to be like $10 cheap, and it always was. It would always end up being $10 more than the last time I saw it. And I was like, fuck, at a certain point, I'm going to like miss out on that one. And I think that's probably the better record than Black Ritz. But Black Ritz is kind of close to my heart when it comes to that cover, because that's just, I mean, I just have no idea, and I'm okay with that too. Like, I don't need to understand this.
Sometimes you just have to appreciate the greatness. Yep.
Yeah, totally. I'm not sure what this is selling me, but whatever it is, I'm buying
it. Exactly. It's like the pieces are pointing in the right direction,
right.
Even if I can't put them together. Yeah, but no, I did the same thing on the unknown. I remember very specifically being at a record show probably around 98, 99, and somebody had the Gotham City LP, and I know it was $20. I know it was.
Yeah.
And I did not buy it. I probably didn't have the $20 left by the time I found it at the show. Yeah, the things we didn't buy.
Yeah.
Of
course, one of the things about being middle-aged is, it might be more dollars, but it's not as much as it was when you were 16, relative to how much money you have. So,
yep. The
little Father's Day wisdom for all the dads in the audience there, right? Because it's probably most of the audience.
Could be. And if you're going with any hobby, and I've known this from talking to people across, it doesn't matter whether you're interested in comic books or baseball cards or coins or stamps or whatever. If you mess with any hobby long enough where you're like actually collecting things, you are going to fuck up and make some mistakes.
Oh,
you're
totally.
Buy some things when you shouldn't, and you're also going to pass on some things that later on you'll regret. It's unavoidable, and there's no point in wallowing in it. It's very much one of those things where you just got to take the Conan philosophy. It's like, suffer no guilt. Just learn from the mistake and try not to repeat it if you can.
That's one reason I'm not a big stickler for condition. Because I'm like, I'd rather get one and have it than like be holding out for a perfect copy and never get it, I did that. It's funny. I have a specific record in mind too. The first Blue Cheer album, Vincibus Eruptum, I saw come through at the record store when I was working there. It would have cost me like $3 or something like that, if that. I was like, no, I'm going to hold out for a better copy. Then I didn't see another copy for like 2 years. You know, and it was still the 90s, so it still wasn't expensive. But like, next time I saw a copy, I didn't give a fuck what kind of shape it was in. I just wanted to have that fucking thing, you know?
Yep. Yeah, when I bought that one, it was just like, it was a worn copy, but that meant it was cheap, and I didn't want to pay a lot for it. So I was absolutely like, okay, this is going to be pretty dog-eared, but the price is right.
That's right. And I'm going to play the shit out of it because it's a great record.
All right, let's see. So yeah, I didn't pull many singles, but let's switch into 45 mode for a few rounds here. I've shown this one before when on camera with Aaron. I love the design of this one to death. This is one that it's a funny cover that makes me laugh in the best ways imaginable. It is the Mars 45. This little guitar playing alien dude, this is the perfect representation for a band named Mars. I mean, your band is called Mars. You're releasing a 7-inch single. It's going to have a monochrome sleeve. What the fuck are you going to do? Put a picture of the planet Mars on it? It's a black and white sleeve. It's not going to look like Mars. It's not red. You need something to get the point across. They came up.
Quality art, too.
It is a good little cartoon alien, and he is jamming that fucking guitar. Absolutely bearing down on that. You know, in his mind, he is center stage soloing at the Hammersmith or something, for sure.
Yeah.
I love this design. I had somebody put this on a t-shirt. I was going to wear this as the t-shirt tonight, but then I was like, Randy does need to represent a little bit for this topic. But yeah, this is one of my favorite sleeve designs from the new wave of British heavy metal. That alien, there is nothing I don't love to death about it.
Dude, if there's anyone I've ever known who should be wearing a Mars t-shirt, it's you.
Yeah.
The fact that you actually did that tells me that things are right in the world, at least on some level.
Yeah, I do fit that character profile, I will readily admit. Let's do one more new wave of British heavy metal 45. This one's, again, just kind of a quirky cover. It's not that it's bad. It's just, I look at him just like, it's from a band called Badge. And the sleeve's got this dragon holding a round, I guess, badge with the word badge on it. Badge being like a pin or a button. But why would the dragon be holding a badge? You know, it's either a huge button or a really tiny dragon, or maybe it's not a badge at all. Maybe it's like a shield. But why does the shield why would the dragon be holding a shield? I'm not quite sure how the components fit together here, but I like them. Once again, your name is Badge. I guess the generic thing to do would be like, draw like a police officer badge and have badge across it, but that would be kind of lame. Anybody can do that.
Super lame.
I just thought it up and I wasn't even trying to, and it's 11:30 at night. Having a dragon hold a circular object that says badge, yeah, okay, this will work. Decent little single, not one that ever's vaunted as the creme de la creme of the new wave of British heavy metal or anything.
Yeah, it's not the Satan single, but it's a really good single.
Yeah, it's not the Satan, but it's one of those next tier kind of things. Its little asterisk footnote claim to fame is that it's one of only 2 singles on the Metal Minded Productions imprint, which really is just Neat Records. For some reason, Neat decided they were going to do a separate imprint. And I've read that it was originally meant to be for bands that were maybe a little more proggy. Except the 2 singles that are on here are not really proggy at all, because it's the Badge single and the Axis single. Yeah. And they're both decent singles. They both feel like every other Neat band, though. That they don't feel like they're set apart by trying to be Queen or Yes or Genesis or anything.
I could see Axis being a prog band in a parallel universe, though.
Maybe.
I don't know about Badge, but Axis maybe.
Given some time to develop with, they could have drifted that way. I'll follow you down that path. But and I'm guessing Neat maybe realized too that there just wasn't any point in splitting those hairs, because they did the 2 singles pretty close together. And then Metal Minded was never once used for anything else ever again.
Yeah.
So that was Badge's little claim to fame. But yeah, it's a cool single. It's one it doesn't turn up often, but it's not a high dollar record. It's not like the Aragorn single or something where everybody and their mother wants it. So you can still get it for a good price. You just have to wait a little bit for it to turn up. When I got it, my fun little story on this, I bought it from Jim Cranford back when he was still a big collector and selling stuff on eBay. And he had extra copies of this. Jim was one of those guys that would help track down bands and get their surplus stock. And I bought it from Jim and got it. And the copy I got would not play at all. It looked fine, but it skipped all to hell. He was super nice about it. Immediately sent me a note. He's like, keep that copy, throw it away, do whatever. If it doesn't play, just trash it. And like, here, I'll send you another copy. And sent me a second copy right away. No hassle, no nothing. Jim was always a cool guy about that kind of thing.
Oh, totally. He and John Houck both. They're classy.
Yeah. You couldn't deal with more up, straight up nice guys. They're not going to bullshit you. They're not going to overhype shit for no reason. Just like, here's the record. Anytime those guys put things on eBay, it didn't matter. There was only once I can ever remember Jim Cranford putting a reserve price on a record. Everything else, it was like a starting bid of $8, no reserve. If it's $100 records, $8, no reserve. If it gets to 100, great. If it sells for $8, hey, congratulations, you got a great deal. They never pulled any of those kind of things.
Yeah, I know with John, I dealt with him more than with Cranford, but at least once too. I was like, hey, do you still have copies of these couple of records? I know you had them. And it's like, oh yeah, I've got this one and this one. And I don't remember what the exact price was, but it was like not the maximum he had ever gotten on eBay for it. You know what I mean? It was like totally fair. I was like, dude, you're a stand up. In fact, my copy of Lead Weight, that comp, he sent me for free because he was like, oh, it's not in as perfect condition as if I'd want to have it on my list for. And the thing is fine, man. It's been my copy of that record for 25 years now. So,
yep. No, John's very good.
Cranford sold off his collection on eBay. On the one hand, it was like more power to him, but on the other hand, it was like, even though I'd never even seen his personal collection, there's a part of me that kind of mourned a collection being broken up like that a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, at the time, and that would have been mid 2000s, it was probably the second biggest metal collection on earth. And I can't prove that, but I only know of one person that probably had a bigger collection than what Jim had put together at that point. So yeah, I get what you're saying. It was kind of sad to see him call it a day, but he was retiring. He was moving to the other side of the planet. It worked out well. I think he was pretty happy with the way it played out. Anyways, we still got some time here. Aaron, you got some more stuff you'd like to show?
Yeah, I suppose if we're getting down to the wire, maybe I should be a little more selective.
Yeah, I was trying to think like which ones I definitely want to show versus what can maybe take a pass.
Oh fuck, dude! All right, I've got one that I'm saving for last. Okay, let's show these two for now, though. This Intruder record, man.
Yeah.
Crush, Kill, Destroy. I don't know why Crush is spelled with a K, but I'm taking it,
Mm-hmm.
As far as I know, this is the only thing they ever did. Is this one 12-inch, 2 songs?
Let me check. I feel like
maybe they did a demo or something.
They might have done a demo or something. Is it just how's it spelled?
They have an umlaut over the U, but
that shouldn't affect it. Let's see. For some reason, I think it had a weird spelling.
Yeah, this is 86.
See if I can find it. Of course, there's a bunch of Intruders. It's not that one. I may not be able to find it quickly, but yeah, it's like that's a really big grasshopper.
Yeah. Or the rat's really small.
I hadn't thought of that.
Maybe the grasshopper's like testing out its lasers before it goes and like does the damage in the background of Rock City.
It wasn't the SEALs; it was the grasshoppers. They were the Third Army that we didn't know about, the air support.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a really cool record, and you gotta love. I always get turned around here. This guy looks like someone's uncle. Yeah, I suspect that he was the bass player but he had the practice space because he just looks a little older than the other guys.
Yeah, I have not heard that in so long. I'm almost certain I had the cassette of it back in the day, but yeah, I haven't heard it in probably 30 years almost.
Yeah. It's a cool piece and one that people don't talk about very much. And then this one isn't, I suppose by the standards that we've been going with, isn't really all that obscure, but this is still one of my favorite covers ever, man.
I love the Death. I thought about pulling something from Death SS, but yeah, I did not.
I mean, the whole like get up and all that shit is hilarious anyway, but like it takes something really special to go, how about if we put a Baphomet on the cover? And he goes, I have a better idea. How about if I dress up? Put me on the cover. And I'm like, dude, you know something? You're the fucking GOAT. I don't think there's a better record cover. I mean, I don't think there's such a thing as a better record cover than this.
Oh, okay. Psychic is saying that, yeah, that was the only thing put out by that intruder. Okay. Thanks, Psychic. I couldn't track it down fast enough there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in awe of this record. And I actually don't like this record as much as the earlier stuff, like the singles and the stuff on the Story of Death SS. Even the Chains of Death single, I think, is fantastic compared to some of this. But that cover is just, I mean, second to none.
That kind of says it all about the band. Yep. Oh, and cheers, Mendoza. Thanks for coming over from the Coliseum. Glad you could catch us live tonight. It's only a 2-man show tonight. It's a busy night for a lot of folks, but yeah, glad you were able to catch this and that you're enjoying some of the other episodes too. All right, those are good ones, Aaron. Let's see, what have I got? I'll do a couple more singles, and I've got some CDs I want to get to on the last few passes. This one has always made me chuckle. You know how, like, lots of bands will have their picture on the back of the sleeve.
Right.
And some bands will have their picture on the front of the sleeve. It was definitely a thing in the 80s. This band decided they would put as many of their pictures as they could all over the sleeve. This is a 7-inch from Johnny Barnes. So here's the back with info on it. This came out, I think, around 77, 78. So yeah, just a pale blue label. Angel of Inspiration is not a bad little rocking song. It has some female backing vocals on the chorus that almost give it like a little bit of an R&B or soul kind of feel for a moment. Steel Rail Blues, I don't really remember, but yeah, they rock out kind of in a fun way on Angel of Inspiration. But yeah, this just struck me as just like they couldn't agree on what press promo photo they wanted to use, and so they just used like every single one. Or they went to the mall where they used to have like the photo booths.
Yeah, totally, the photo man.
And they just took like the entire, it's just like, hey, we don't have to pick one, just put the entire strip of photos on the front of the sleeve. I think it definitely wins the award for most pictures of band members crammed onto a 7-inch single that I can think of anyway.
That's crazy. I've never heard of that one before either. That's a brand new one to me.
It's I don't know why I know it. It just is. Funny thing about it too, I mean, for one of these little like late 70s, early 80s proto rock metal singles, a lot of times these pain to find, cost unusually much. I bet you can find this on Discogs right now for $7. It always seems to be listed there. It's always dirt cheap. Maybe it's, Mr. Barnes himself selling leftover copies or something, but it is not hard to find, and it will not cost you much if you want to take a dive on it. This will probably be the last single I show. I'll go to CDs next time around.
Oh, that's a great one.
This sleeve always gives me a chuckle. It always makes me think of something Mario Brothers. They're lumped into the new wave of British heavy metal, which is maybe being a little generous, but they were British. They were on the scene. It's the Challenger single, So Sure of Yourself.
The rock's decently hard, too. I don't have the sleeve with mine, incidentally, but I did make sure that I didn't get one that was dink, so I'd at least get the little guy on the label.
Yep. Yeah, the guy does appear on the label. You're exactly right. Yeah, my sleeve's not in great condition, but like you were saying earlier, this one's a hard sleeve to get sometimes. So I was okay getting one that, was a bit taped up and stuff. But the little guy over here, he reminds me of like those little hooded dudes in all the Super Mario games that, Shilohs or something they were called, where you just like jump on their head and they flip upside down.
Oh yeah, dude,
Yeah.
totally.
And
100%.
just like, I'm guessing like he's, supposed to be casting some kind of spell, but so like he's this little guy in the corner and he's like throwing like the biggest lightning bolt. He like rolled a nat 20 to cast a lightning bolt this fucking size, man. I mean, that's some, he's got like a +9 lightning bolt summoning charm underneath that robe or something.
Yeah. He was so sure of himself.
He was so sure that he was going to roll high on that one for sure. So yeah, not a bad little single. It's got kind of a bouncy structure to it that makes it feel less heavy, but not bad. The second side, Out to Kill, has the more promising title. And I remember that one being kind of more of an atmospheric number, which is more the song I bought it for. So yeah, again, like you said, it's not going to rival Satan Heads Will Roll or anything like that in the hierarchy of new wave of British heavy metal singles. But it's kind of a fun one. I like this type of single, and I definitely love the picture sleeve. I think when I got this, I had never seen the picture sleeve. I had seen just copies with the label, but I had no idea that was going to be the same thing on the sleeve. And I was okay with that when I saw that it was.
Yeah. No, I really like that record. And, they can't all be the heaviest thing. You get Crucifixion, you get Satan, you get Hollow Ground, and you get
Blitzkrieg,
Savage. Oh, and you get Blitzkrieg, and then you're like, okay, what else is there?
Mm-hmm.
And you start digging into shit like Challenger. Absolutely, man.
Yeah. Oh, Carl, yeah, or Qbert. Yep. Qbert. It triggers those 80s video game vibes for me for some reason. It really does. Yeah, Qbert. I liked Qbert, but I sucked at Qbert. I always tried it for a couple of quarters in the arcade, and I never could get anywhere in that damn game. But I always wanted to try it. It always looked fun.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron, back over to you, sir.
So this is kind of a corny one, but I have a soft spot for this record, and that cover is definitely one that draws me in. Like, in a way, it represents the record really well because it's kind of bad, but kind of perfect too. And this record is loaded with keys. It's a French one, incidentally. Mistreated, Première Indivision.
I don't know this one.
Yeah, and it's all sung in French. And if you want to not like this record, there are lots of good reasons to not like this record. But I just love it, man. I think the songs are great. The hooks are great. Again, the cover I think is fantastic. And it's just a really enjoyable piece. You know who put me onto this thing was actually Jan Svanhill.
Oh,
I was at his place one time. At his house in San Francisco. I went there a couple of times and I was buying records, and he was like, "Oh, this is one of my favorites." And I was like, "Yeah, this is kind of some corny bullshit." Then I went and listened to it online a couple of times, and I was like, "Actually, I love this thing."
Yeah.
You know the black metal act Mons Veneris?
I know the name, but that's it.
Yeah, I was friendly with him, and we sort of lost touch, but we didn't like have a falling out or anything. We just sort of lost touch, but we used to chat kind of a lot, and he was a sucker for this kind of shit too. I put him onto that. He was like, "Oh my God, that's the greatest thing ever." I'm like, "Dude, you're this fucking black metal guy, and you're listening to this cornball shit and like mistreated." He was like, "Oh, it's great."
Very nice. Yeah. Yeah. Svan is still around. He still sells records on Discogs.
Oh yeah. Last time I bought from him was probably less than a year ago. Probably less than.
I've bought from him within the past couple of years. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's an old time vinyl dealer. Yep. He's been at it forever. Well, let's see. Was that one or was that two?
That was one.
That was one. Yeah.
And for two, we'll go to Atlanta. I guess shout out to Mike Seatown if he's still in the chat.
Oh, that's such a great album.
This is such a great record. What a great cover too. My personal favorite thing is the earring with no ear, just in the skull.
Yep. The MX Rocks album. Really very quirky band.
Yeah.
Yep. And
like
they kind of
pretty heavy, you know.
It really it is a very high energy kind of it's quirky, but it's really energetic workout on the album.
Yeah.
I want to say it's like an Americanized Raven or something, but that's probably not a great description. But they got.
I like these guys more than Raven, to tell you the truth.
I like that album more than stuff I've got by Raven. But after that album, they got real quirky and weird real fast.
Really? This is the only one I know, to tell you the truth.
It's the one it's funny because, yeah, that one, I mean, it's a rare album, but it's definitely the one you see and hear the most about. After that, they got almost into a more, I have no better term to use than alt rock kind of direction. They would do albums with titles like Your Parents Are Aliens.
Huh.
And the songs are meant to be kind of goofy-ish, not parody songs, but starting to lean towards you might see one of their songs pop up on a Dr. Demento kind of collection. It wouldn't have been out of the question. The second album still has some decent tracks on it, but you could tell they were losing interest pretty rapidly, and they were just kind of becoming their own goofy thing. They did a bunch of albums, but they're all really hard to come by. Even online, you don't see a ton of listings for them. I don't think they've ever been put on a digital platform. Maybe they have since the last time I looked. It's been several years. But yeah, they have a long catalog, but that's the only album that really kicks ass.
Yeah, I had heard somewhere they had other records that sound differently, but since you brought it up right now, I completely forgot. It was more like when you mentioned, I was like, oh yeah, I think that rings a faint bell, you know? Yeah. But yeah, Highway to the Top, Rise of the Beast, Electrocuted Madness. You know, they're doing right on the song titles too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And the songs are just as good. They scream in guitar work. Yeah, all over that one.
Yeah, that one smokes.
Yeah, Psychic. I want to type that in the chat for you. It's just MX, which is Army slang for missile, if I remember right.
Oh, is it? It's funny because there's a Brazilian band called that too.
Mm-hmm.
I have one of their records, but the cover is nowhere near as funny as this one. So,
yeah, it's a cool album, and a slightly pricey one. I was talking to the guy that runs the local record store a while back, and years ago, someone had brought a copy of that in when Earshot was still a thing around here. Earshot was one of the popular sort of southeastern record chains. And it looked so goofy, none of the employees ever really did anything. So it just kind of sat in the back room collecting dust for like 6 months.
Oh, wow.
So finally, one of them looked it up and was like, oh, holy crap, this is like a $150 record. We should do something with it. So yeah, it flew under their radar. It is really good. And if anyone wants to check it out without, buying the original, that's one that John Hopton, Jim Cranford, who we were talking about earlier, they did an anthology of the good MX tracks on their OPM label sometime in the early 2000s. You can find that easier and cheaper than you can the original album. It's a really good anthology. It's got a ton of tracks from that, and then selected tracks from like the next one or two albums, so that you can hear. They still had a few good songs, but yeah, most of the material is being drawn from early on.
I've never had that comp, but that's what put them on my radar, actually. I remember seeing that, and then when I came across this, I was like, oh, I should probably check that out. Hopton Cranford liked it enough to
exactly. Yeah. And yeah, Mendoza, you're right. Yeah, trying to Google MX, that's not fun.
It's Rocks with a Z, which makes it a little easier, maybe, but it's still no fun. You know what the worst band to Google though is still? Too Much, the Japanese band. Their self-titled record. It's great, but try Googling Too Much.
Yeah, that wouldn't go well.
When I got my hands on that thing, I was like, "Fuck, dude! I'm so glad that I can just put this one out of my mind now."
Never have to look it up again. Yep.
That's right.
Yep.
I was supposed to meet Rich Haupt once. Did I tell you about this ever? John's brother.
Yeah, because he does a lot of record stuff too.
Yeah, Rockadelic Records he ran. I was supposed to meet him at the Austin Record Show, and I was living in Austin, but I had to blow him off because my older kid was born.
Well, that'd be a good reason to. Yep.
Yeah, he understood.
Yep. Good deal. Let's see. We got time for one or two more rounds. Oops. Hold on.
You tell me. I've got enough. I've got another probably 30 records sitting here. So
I've got a ton we can do too. But yeah, we're getting close to midnight. Let's do like two more. We'll do 3 more rounds. Okay. I got 6 here that I really wanted to show. So we'll do 6 and call it a night. All right. So I'm going to switch to some CDs now. This cover, is a funny one. Aaron mentioned earlier he saw a pentagram not too long ago. Well, Pentagram made the stack tonight with the Show 'Em How album. And this is one of their early 2000s albums. I think this is the first one he made after Hasselvander got fed up and quit dealing with him. So he had a new group of guys, and some of these guys were, had done other Doom projects before. I don't remember who was from what. But I always thought this cover was just kind of goofy, silly, because it's Bobby looking really spaced out, which should surprise no one. And he's just kind of staring at this glowing ball in his hand. And I knew when I saw this, it had come out, I'm just like, that's a funny picture, but it also kind of struck me as like, I'm not getting a great vibe that this is going to be a killer album. If that's all they could conjure up for the cover is this wacky picture of Bobby, looking all, bug-eyed at a glowing ball, this is probably not going to be another Review Your Choices. And it's not. They got into a pattern from this point forward where every album was leaning on reworked versions of some of the old 70s stuff. And those reworked versions rarely do the old versions much justice. It's cool that they got a proper recording, but they just, they don't sound as good as the old 70s demos and rehearsals.
Yeah.
And the newer songs that they were working up, you got to pick around in them to find any that are really worthy of the Pentagram name. It's not like their songs suck or anything, but man, it's really one of those bands where, they made this great album and then this great album and then this great album. Oh yeah. And then they've made a bunch of albums over the past 25 years that at the end of the day, if you didn't own them, you probably didn't miss out on a ton of stuff. But that's not what we're talking about. The subpar music's not the issue here. The issue is that's a funny picture. Bobby stares at glowing ball. And let's see, number 2 for this round. I love this cover to death. There's a lot going on in this one. And somebody I think David over at the new heavy metal Overkill channel actually talked about this record, I think. Sorry if it was a different video. Accepts Russian Roulette. Let's get this out of the case so there's a little less glare. Everything here is just fabulous. First off, you've got, the big staring showdown going on. The expression on his face says, "Really, bro?" And this guy looks so casual about, the fact that they're playing Russian roulette. And he looks like he's asking if he can buy him a drink, not, do you want to play a game of life and death? Then you've got, the 3 guys in between, with the big, of course, stereotypical looking, Rusky kinds of hats. And they're all kind of like looking in different directions here. So like one's looking like, what are you going to do? The other's looking, what's he going to do? And then one's looking at the gun. They're just, eyes are all over the place. They've got, this kind of lavish setting for it where this could have been just done as like some kind of classic looking oil painting and looked just as good. I love to death the way they just composed this whole scene. And I'll bet it was a pain in the ass. And I'll bet they were totally fed up by the time they got this photo shoot done. But it makes for a really fun cover. I'm sorry, what, Aaron?
Oh, I just agree. It's a great cover.
Yeah.
And an oil painting of Udo Dirkschneider would be hanging in my living room. 100%.
Absolutely. I mean, really, everyone, of course, knows like, balls to the wall. It's some hairy dude's leg holding a giant ball. Nah, metal heart. It's a heart made out of metal parts. Yeah, okay, whatever. This right here is the shit. This is what my Accept album needs to look like, for sure.
Yeah. Dude, Breaker. It's probably my favorite Accept album. I was like, I can't rationalize pulling that one out for this.
No. Yep, close-up of woman surprise screaming. Okay, fair enough. But, and Breaker can definitely make a strong case for best Accept record. It has to beat Restless and Wild. I'm not sure, but it's got a chance.
Did you show 2?
I did. I showed 2. I showed the Pentagram and the Accept.
The Pentagram is spaced. All right,
Bobby spaced that pentagram too.
Yeah. All right, let's do these. So, since I have a soft spot for record covers where I don't know what the hell's going on, we kind of have to salute Ritual here from Belgium.
Nice. Yep.
Yeah, because I mean, it's already kind of funny that the cross is just sort of hanging in the ether like that. But then you notice the woman is a candle.
Yes, that's the thing that really puts it over the top. Because at first it's another one of those things that seems like everything's out of proportion. Like, she's praying to an upside down cross that's much tinier than her, but oh wait, she's not a person.
Right. And also on the topic of band photos where they're dead.
Mm-hmm.
Got to give it up. Yeah, on Black Ritual Records. Yeah, these guys were Belgian. I don't know what it was, man, but Belgium seemed to have a lot of great bands in the 80s, at least. I still think they outdid the Netherlands.
Huh. That'd be an interesting one to compare side by side.
Yeah, a lot of Dutch. There's some really cool Dutch bands, but a lot of the Dutch bands just seemed kind of, mediocre, like Leader, Out in the Wasteland. It's a good record. There's nothing not to enjoy about that thing, but it's not as good as like some of the shit that was coming out of Belgium, like these guys or White Knight or even like Ostrogoth. Maybe it's because they were Catholic in Belgium. I don't know. And then here's another one. What the hell is going on here?
Oh, yeah. I've been tempted to pull the trigger on that album a few times and never have.
Yeah, you and a lot of people, I think, to tell you the truth.
Clowns are a tough sell for me when it comes to metal album covers.
This is definitely, it leaves you wanting more. A lot of credits, which sort of, make it look like it was one guy's project, and actually, yeah, all music and lyrics by Russell Hilburn. And then it has this guy named Edward Levin in the band. And it says, Edward Levin is in all actuality W. Russell Hilburn. So, yeah, I think this is pretty much Russell Hilburn's deal. And I'm kind of a sucker for like one guy who maybe wasn't completely up to the task, like just putting his head down and doing it. It's like another Mark Lowry or something like that, maybe. I don't know. I don't like this record as much as the Rusty Mark and the Metal Palace. But if you're into like the weird shit and like you just sort of go, what the fuck were they thinking when they made this record? This is kind of a banger, Not one if you're just like trying to build a metal collection.
No, this does not need to be one of your 10 starting albums.
Yeah, or your first 100 starting album. Very disappointing. But if you like, again, if you're easily amused, you can hang with the sort of thing. This is a really fun record. I like it.
And so that's the thing, because it does look like it could be fun, which is why when I see it from time to time, I'm like, well, you might could party with that clown.
Yeah.
But you also might have that clown haunt your nightmares and make you wish you had your $40 back.
Yeah, maybe. And then, wait, was that one or two? That was two. Never mind. Two? I showed the Ritual and Rust. Go ahead.
Ritual and Rust. Yeah. Okay.
You could tell I was going through when I was pulling this shit alphabetically and putting them in a stack.
Yeah, same here. Yep. For sure. All right. So 2 rounds left. All right. For this round, this one is a cool cover. It makes me smile for a very specific reason. It's the second album from Sadistic Execution, We Are Death, Fuck You, which is a great album title by itself.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. And, is, very distinctive, style from rock, with, all the spikes on everything. The reason this one kind of makes me laugh is there's nothing wrong with it. It's kind of a cool album. But you've got, this neat, skeleton thing here, with 3 heads and all, reminds me of like, a lot of those old like 60s, monster adventure movies, Jason and the Argonauts, fighting all the
Ray Harryhausen. Totally.
Yeah. The stop motion skeletons and all. But the thing that always throws me with this one is that, this one, it's holding, it's like a very long, skinny sword or spear or something that, is kind of, going through its own skulls, it looks like. And just because this way the skulls are looking at each other, to me, it always looks like it's arguing with itself. It's like, they can't quite figure out, which direction they're supposed to go, like wreak havoc in next. And so they're just like bickering with each other. It's like, come on, bitches, turn to the left. And the other one's just saying, fuck you, we're going this way. And that they're just stuck in this argument with, well, it's itself. So that's why this one always makes me smile. I can't get it out of my head that the three heads are arguing about something. But I like the art style. I like the composition on it all. It's kind of cool. And yeah, obviously, Australian war metal thing going on. A fun listen, and just a fun, odd piece of art to it.
Yeah. Once again, I could make a Muppets reference, but instead, ever seen the amazing two-headed transplant?
Nope, don't know this.
Well, someday you'll come across it, you'll be in for a treat. But yeah, speaking of two heads arguing with each other.
Maybe Simon's got the simplest answer here. There you go. Larry, Curly, and Moe. Yeah. All they need to do is like one needs to poke the other one in the eye sockets. All right, so that's one for this round. Other one, kind of a similar color palette. And this one is not going to make sense at first because I think this is something that's only funny to me. It is.
I take that as a challenge.
Okay, I won't say right away. We'll see if anyone else kind of has the same reaction I do. Third album by Finland's Sentenced, Amok. We've talked about it many times on the channel. It's a favorite of both Marty and mine. This cover, whenever I look at this, it's always one of those, just I get the little mental grin.
I feel like I'm failing a test here.
It's not you, it's me. There's one thing that just always trips my funny switch when I look at Amok.
I don't know. It kind of looks like the if that's a deer, the deer's head is coming out of the lion, but I don't think that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's not that. Yeah, you're right. It's a little bit of a weird perspective-ish thing there, where it's got its head turned and positioned a little oddly. True, but no, that's not it. The thing that makes me giggle just a little bit with this one is Amok. When you think of Amok, you think of, again, something running out of control. They're running amok. It's it's crush, kill, destroy mode. You're going out swinging, raise it to the ground. And what did they pick for the cover to represent the concept of amok? They picked like a bronze statue, something that absolutely can't move in the least little bit.
Yeah.
It's not like Raging Sea of Warriors. There's no like, this should have a cover like Bolt Thrower's War Master, Space Marines, big sword flying through the air, shit blowing. It should have the cover like Riot, whole cities in flames, dead things laying on the ground. Statue.
Yeah.
Amok. Just the fact that they have the most static object imaginable representing this word that's supposed to be like packed full of anger and energy and action. It just always makes me like, why, guys? Why the statue? Why were you so fixated on this statue? And again, maybe there's some really cool historical thing going on. It's just like, you fucking heathen, don't you know that this is like, a piece from 12th century Byzantium that, represents, the raising of the Roman Empire by the Ostrogoths or something? No, I didn't. Thank you for educating me. Now it makes a lot more sense. But until somebody actually fills in those blanks for me, I'm going to chuckle because they have a statue not running amok. So that, like I said, it's not you, Aaron. It's not anybody. It's sometimes you just have to make your own fun in this world. And that's what I do with Amok. It's my own private joke.
Well, hell yeah.
All right, sir. This will be your next last.
Wait, second last, right?
No, this is last round. Sorry.
Last round?
We are on the last round, so show them if you got them. Yep. We're already after midnight, so last call.
All right. Well, we're going to go to Russia one more time.
We should. Absolutely.
And show the Paranoia record.
Okay,
Holy
this looks kind of
shit.
cool.
What a cover.
This looks pretty cool so far. I don't know this at all.
Yeah, this is a good record too, actually. It's pretty thrashy. It's all in Russian. 93. So again, like Jesus Metal, a little bit late, but very good.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's actually really well executed from a painting standpoint, but I don't know what the fuck is going on here. So like the devil guy's holding this head, and then the other woman has a dog's head and is a fountain.
Yeah.
You see that?
This is pretty cool. Yeah, this is it's crazy, but cool crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And then like on the back, they all have like teeth like painted on. It's like the vampire teeth and shit.
Okay. Not as cool as the horse teeth from earlier tonight, but still all right.
The warm-up ones, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Paranoia save the world, it says. So maybe that's what they're doing.
Maybe so. Folks agree though that this cover has a lot of promise. I'd buy that, flipping through stuff at a record show and it's like, $15-20. I'll shut up and give them my money.
Yeah. All right. So that's Paranoia. And then for my very last pick, I saved what is maybe the all-time like hilarious metal album cover. Not a great record. Let me just admit that out front. But that cover, My Dark Sun.
Yeah, this is like Eddie crossed with the creature from the Black Lagoon kind of vibe.
I mean, everything about it is just so poor. I mean, I wonder what it feels like to think that this would be an intimidating record cover.
Yeah, you get the sense again that the band had explained something like, we want like, the hideous, foul demon monster thing. And this is what was delivered.
Yeah.
Tim says an angry Yeti. Okay.
They're German, but they look like an Italian band based on those photos.
And on the cover art, it's got a real Italian vibe going there too.
I guess so. We're making it sound better than it is, though. I just want to be clear. It has that canvas thing going on that the Aquila did too. If you look at that, you can sort of see some texture in there that really doesn't belong there, given the quality of the art. I mean, the fangs alone are fucked up, And yeah, I mean, Smile of a Tiger is on here. Simile of Evil and Holy Macho.
Simile of Evil. I like this title.
Yeah, and this record's not very expensive because it's not very good. But it's better than their second one. Yeah, Dark Sun, Killed in Action. This one gets points for like when I think of record covers that like belong in this topic, this is really the pinnacle.
You saved a good one here for the end, yeah. I'm just wondering now if they actually had like a flip side, B-side called like Metaphorically of Evil to go with Simile of Evil.
Yeah.
All right. Good ones. All right. I've got a couple and then we will wrap this up for everybody. So final two, we'll do one that everybody knows and one that very few people know. Had to pick this one, and this could show up in a lot of discussions for a lot of cover related topics, but Black Sabbath's Born Again. And I'm not picking it, again, we're not talking musical merits here, which there's some stuff on here I like. I'm not as keen on it as some folks, but
I think it's great. I actually thought about pulling it too because I kind of love that cover.
The thing that about the cover, it's not the image, it's the color scheme is what I've decided with them. It's the fact that you've got, the just like, radioactive red for the demon child thing, but then like, the pale yellow for the nails and fangs. You've got the green eyes, and then you've got this kind of, very vivid, strong blue background. None of these colors really work together. It's like,
Jesus, what?
Okay.
Let it outside. You made me yell too. Hang on.
Are we all good over there?
Yeah, everything's okay. Hang on just 1 sec, if you will.
Oh yeah. Take your time. But yeah, well, we'll let Aaron get things settled there. But yeah, the color scheme is what really makes this one kind of, fun to look at, as opposed to just like, oh God, what were they thinking? It's like whoever was handling the art direction for this was colorblind. And so say what you will about, the composition itself. How did anyone decide that these colors would work? And then again, for the lettering, you've got like this kind of, not a very strong gold, so it doesn't even show up particularly great against the blue. And it's just like, whoever did this had like never looked at the primary color wheel in their life or something, because the colors just don't work together. And that's what makes it especially funny. Not the fact that it's some kind of, weird, fat, evil demon baby. It's just the fact that it couldn't be more garish in the colors. That's what really wins me over on Born Again. But are we all back to normal there?
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's okay. Just making
My
sure
wife was coming in and something jumped on her. She thought it was a frog, but it scared this out of her.
Okay.
And she freaked out, and I she startled the shit out of me. So
it's midnight and something jumps on you, and I'm holding this thing up, waving it around. I'd probably scream too. But yeah, some folks love this album to death. Some folks don't. I'm a little middle of the road on it, but the color scheme just makes me chuckle that somebody thought this was the right combination of colors to use for an album cover. And then let's see the last one. And this one, we see similar things here and there, but this one I think is just a really good example of an offender for this. We've got Attacks Revitalize. Blow this up a little larger here. And I mean, on the one hand, what's special about this? We see plenty of, metal strongmen, barbarians, holding swords and punching through things and all that. The thing that makes this one kind of funny to me is that there is no way in Crom's world that his hand could have come through this road holding that sword, because the sword's too big. I mean, he didn't lift it like straight up holding the sword sideways, or there'd be a giant slash through the pavement. So he would have had to have like turned his hand and tried to have jabbed the sword straight upwards through it, and then turned his wrist to pose with it. But the sword tip wasn't going to like drive through concrete. I don't care how strong he is; it would have fucked up the tip of the sword. This tip of the sword is in perfect, pristine condition. It has not touched asphalt. It isn't all chipped up. Yes, I'm overthinking this way too much. I know. So then, the only logical conclusion to be drawn here is the other thing that's bothering me is that we don't see any sign of the dude's head or shoulder or anything. So in terms of like an anatomical position, he has to be laying completely on his side, punching straight up, so that you're only seeing arm. If he's like, buried like standing up or something and punching up, you'd start to see more of the shoulder or the top of the head or something. So he's like laying on his side underground, punching straight up, empty-handed, and then somebody has handed him the sword, because the sword's not dirty or damaged, and it wouldn't fit through. Again, he couldn't lift it up in that particular orientation, and he couldn't drive it through without blunting the sword. So yes, this is why it's funny to me. So it's like, it doesn't work. It's a tiny little hole and it's a giant sword. And why don't we see more of him?
Now that you're talking about him lying down, though, I'm thinking about like Michelangelo painting the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel.
And in this case, someone has handed him a sword. Now he may paint the world in blood.
Yeah, I kind of doubt that Michelangelo is that swole though. But I don't know what the roof of the Sistine Chapel is made out of.
Hey, I don't. You
Could be
have to climb
asphalt.
those ladders up and down every day for a frickin' decade. You probably get a bit of a workout. But yeah, for those unfamiliar with Attack, this is a good second tier German power metal band. Kind of a one man project. There were other members, but it was all Ricky Van Helten. Was the only kind of constant from album to album. Did several albums, good German fare. He was always stuck on these really small labels, so it didn't get much exposure at all. But several of the albums are quite good. The Revitalized one I just showed is kind of a best of collection that came out 30 years ago. So yeah, dude was on the scene way back when, but never got the exposure of the other German bands. But yeah, just that the more I thought about it in terms of the anatomy of how is this arm coming through this hole holding that sword, it doesn't work. And it makes me laugh, even though I put way too. I know, just don't think about it and it works. But I stopped and thought about it, and that was where I went wrong.
I think Attack is one of those bands that might have suffered a little bit from having made too many records. If they had made like one or two, they'd be like these legends. But since they sort of hung on and kept like putting record after record out, it was like,
Could be. And some of them are definitely stronger, and some of them are more metal than others.
I've never heard one that was terrible, though. I haven't heard all their records by any shop, but I have a couple and I enjoy them. They're good records, but it's like, I almost wonder if they hurt their reputation more than their actual output by just doing as much as they did.
If they had been one of those one and done bands, then everybody could focus on, the awesomeness of 7 years in the past or something. Yeah.
Right.
That's a good point. I'm not sure. The folks that do know the band do tend to agree that the catalog's pretty decent overall. I think the early stuff is maybe a little, it's not rock or anything, but the first couple are maybe a little less metal. They aren't quite as strong sounding, and maybe part of that's just like really low, poor production quality things. But no, they did some good ones later on, at least. But you could be onto something about sometimes it's hard to have that mythos when you've got a 6-album catalog.
Yeah,
for sure. Well, folks, Aaron and I have given you 3 hours plus of fun album covers that we enjoy for various reasons tonight.
And a little jump scare at the end.
And a jump scare at the end thrown in for sure. We're glad the missus is okay, though. Aaron, totally thanks a lot for being a good sport, retooling the topic here on a Friday afternoon, and putting together a lot of cool stuff. Folks really dug a lot of ones, and you showed some things that look awesome. Sometime I got to go down that Russian rabbit hole a little bit, and those will be some of the ones I'll have to start with, because those look pretty cool.
I was thinking about it when I was going through it. There were more I could have pulled. I was like, man, what's up with these Russians, man?
It's a good question. It deserves its own topic for sure. We'll have to come back to it sometime with somebody who's more in the know. It sounds like maybe a mission for Dan from the Colosseum to hop in on, perhaps.
Yeah, well, he kicked my ass on that stuff, I think.
I think he would kick just about anyone's ass on this planet. But you could hang. I would just sit back and run the slides for y'all or something. Awesome. But no, I do appreciate you taking the time tonight, man. Very, very cool.
I appreciate you having me.
It's always a treat. And thank you to everybody in the chat. It's been lots of good comments. Sorry I have not gotten more of them up on screen tonight. But again, with just 2 of us to go back and forth between, had to do a little more keeping my eyes on the road driving this bus. But appreciate all the comments. Folks have had a good time with some of the things we've talked about. And we've had some interesting, sidebar discussions pop up along the way too. Sorry to anybody who was scarred by the Dark Crystal subreddit that we almost started about 2 hours ago. But hey, that's part of the fun along the way. And we had some first-time viewers too here, like Mendoza coming over from the Colosseum. Really glad that you've been checking out and enjoying the channel. Great to have you on board tonight, as well as some of our long-term stalwarts like Tim It's not really Friday night if we don't have folks like Tim and Sunday and Simon and the rest of the gang in the chat hanging out. Marty has made an appearance in the chat too, in case folks didn't notice. Marty, hope you and Jim have been having a great time hanging out and getting to spend some FaceTime with one another rather than just hanging out on the album club. And Aaron, anything you'd like to plug on your channel other than telling folks to please go subscribe to the Metal Theologian to get you up to that magical 3,000 subs mark? That's where you get like the big golden calf statue or something, right?
I think I have to make my own golden calf statue at that point. But
you can borrow the one from the cover of the Sentenced album. I think you can rent it cheap.
That's funny. What if it's in some Finnish museum somewhere? Actually, that's kind of my guess.
It probably is like some cultural heritage icon that I've desecrated now.
It's like some scene from the Kalevala that every kid in Finland knows about, or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
Yeah. No, I'm about 30 subs away from 3,000, though. So, I mean, the thing is, I think most of the people in the chat know me already. But if you don't, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, if anyone can go sub to Metal Theologian. There's a link in the show notes down below, so no excuses for making it hard to find. Also, go use the link to check out Dave's new channel, Heavy Metal Overkill, and subscribe to him too. He's got a good little start, but let's help push his numbers up. He's taking the dive, making some videos. Go show him some love. Metal Overkill's been a long time viewer, contributor, supporter in our chat. Great guy, and yeah. Dave, I meant to mention it at the start and forgot, but Dave sent me some VCLT the other day too, and I'll be featuring that another time. Haven't had time to look into it this afternoon with everything else going on, but thank you, Dave, for that. And I'll be highlighting that stuff sometime soon over on Let's Talk Metal. For now, it looks like it's about time for me to hit the big red button here in the corner that says end stream. But to all the dads out there, a happy Father's Day this weekend. We hope you can rest, relax, enjoy some quiet time or some quality time, or maybe a little bit of both. But we will see you again next week here on Heavy Metallurgy with some more fun stuff. Until then, I've been Alan, he's been Aaron, and we'll come back at you next week with more. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Oh, there's 2 buttons I have to hit. Blast.